Chapter 4256. Cannot speak it. In one corner of the vast world, Lin Moyu had already cleared a battlefield. Trillions of undead minions were mobilized, sealing off this area completely. At the center of the battlefield, space twisted, and the Ghost Husband's clone appeared. Once inside the vast world, the Ghost Husband's clone actually calmed down, no more shouting or roaring. He glanced over the dense ranks of undead minions, his expression void of fear as he sneered coldly, "You think these trash can kill me? Aren't you looking down on me too much?" Lin Moyu appeared in the void, his gaze icy as he faced the Ghost Husband's clone. "Why can't I kill you?" The Ghost Husband's clone asked. "Who are you?" Lin Moyu replied, "Ofamapine, a cultivator within the domain, once benefited by a senior like you." The real body of the Ghost Husband was imprisoned, already separated from all connection to his clones, so his clone did not know Lin Moyu. The Ghost Husband's clone snorted coldly. "Young man, you are quite strong for your age, but what, are you looking to take this domain? If so, I advise you to reconsider. Don't take the wrong path." Lin Moyu's mind moved. From the Ghost Husband's words, he picked out some extra information. He said, "Since Senior can have ambitions, why can't I?" The Ghost Husband's clone's laughter turned icy. "You haven't transcended this domain is useless to you." Lin Moyu replied, "But I don't want to repeat the old path. Some things are best settled before transcendence." The Ghost Husband's clone shook his head. "You may say so, but some things can't be done just because you want to. My advice is to first transcend, then set your sights on this domain." Lin Moyu said, "Isn't that what you did, Senior? I'm just more ambitious. I want to do it earlier." The Ghost Husband's clone sighed. "You wouldn't understand." Lin Moyu said, "Then please enlighten me, Senior. If you really convince me, maybe I'll listen to your advice." The Ghost Husband's clone said, "You should transcend first, and when you reach major accomplishment in the Chaos Realm, then find a suitable domain, and make your move slowly. With just one domain, you can reach perfection in the Chaos Realm. If the targeted domain is powerful enough, it may help you take another step, ascend to the position of Supreme Heaven Earth Dazen. If it isn't enough, then find another domain and see if you can merge the two. If it works, even if you don't become Supreme, you'll be among the strongest at the perfection level." Lin Moyu's face clearly showed interest. "So that's how it is. Have I chosen the wrong way?" The Ghost Husband's clone answered, "It's not easy to become a domain lord. The odds of success are almost zero." Lin Moyu nodded. "Are there many people at perfection in the Chaos Realm?" The Ghost Husband's clone said, "Not too many, not too few either. There's no limit on the number after all." Here he suddenly stopped and changed the subject. "Now you know, right? Let me go. I won't hold any grudge against you." Lin Moyu had already gleaned the information he wanted. All of a sudden, he smiled. "Senior said a lot, but it's hard to tell the truth from falsehood. You deceived me once before, so this time I choose not to believe you." The Ghost Husband's clone's expression changed. "You've seen my true body? What happened to my body?" Lin Moyu smirked. "Oh, your true body." Just as the Ghost Husband pricked up his ears, a vague world appeared in the void, coming down on him like a sky-covering mountain. The Ghost Husband's clone's face changed. He hurled a fist, evil chill surging. His massive fist struck the blurry world. Boom! The huge fist instantly shattered, but the attack didn't slow. The world came crashing onto the Ghost Husband's clone, smashing him back with a pain scream. In that instant, all the undead minions also attacked, unleashing a barrage of strikes. The Ghost Husband's clone roared, "Ghostly chi soars." A billowing wave of icy, evil chi exploded, immediately obliterating the undead minions' attacks and more. The ghost chi swept over them, killing tens of thousands in a moment. The undead did not fear death in death. They revived and surrounded him as before, preventing escape. Despite little realm difference, the Ghost Husband's clone's combat power far surpassed the undead minions. Fortunately, their numbers made up for what was lacking in raw strength. Fatty appeared in that misty world, shifting into giant form and barreling at the Ghost Husband. Earlier, it was Fatty who had blasted the Ghost Husband's clone back. Lin Moyu, after leaving the heavenly voidland, had brought her out as well. Fatty was no ordinary treasure. Her combat power was at least half-step Chaos Realm, especially since she was so heavy, making her capable of stalemating the ghost husband's clone. They clashed in a furious fight, neither able to overpower the other. Lin Moyu quickly observed. The ghost husband's clone was at half-step Chaos Realm power. This was enough to crush every Eternal into the domain. That such a small fragment of soul could be so strong showed just how terrifying the original was. Lin Moyu didn't want delays, he wanted a quick resolution. With a light flick of his finger, Doubtfire appeared. Ah! A shriek erupted as burning flames engulfed the ghost husband's clone. World-burning fire devoured him, and the ghost husband's clone screamed, "Who are you? How do you possess his fire?" Lin Moyu asked, "Do you know whose fire it is?" The ghost husband's clone wailed, "Of course I know. No, it's impossible. You can't have his fire." Lin Moyu said, "Then tell me, who is it? If you're right, maybe I'll spare you." The ghost husband's clone reacted without thinking, but couldn't get the words out. He shrieked, "What's happening? Why can't I speak? Someone set a rule in chaos. Who was it? Which Supreme did this? Why target me this way? I just wanted a domain. Countless have done the same. Why pick on me? Wow." He howled furiously, his words growing wild, ghost chi surging as his realm soared. "I'll kill you, kill you." His power kept rising. Fatty was finally forced back and fell into retreat. Lin Moyu frowned as the world-burning fire burned. He saw what the ghost husband's clone had done. He was burning the domain's heavenly fate and the origin power of the fifth domain. The ghost husband had lurked at the core for countless years, absorbing who knew how much fate and origin power. If his true body had survived, he might have fully succeeded in seizing the fifth domain. Fifth was no match for him. If that had happened, the fifth domain would have collapsed and the heavenly void sun's plan would have ended in utter failure. But the green-robed old man had intervened, foiling the ghost husband's plan. The fate and origin power the clone had absorbed had nowhere to go, so it accumulated, deepening his foundation even as his power apparently stayed the same. Now, with these resources burning, his realm soared. He was about to break through half-step chaos and enter true chaos realm. The vast world shook. Space cracked as huge rifts split the sky. The vast world, too, could not allow a chaos realm existence. Its rules instinctively began to expel the ghost husband's clone. If expelled, it would be very hard for Lin Moyu to find him again, so he refused to allow it. With a thought, he forcefully suppressed the vast world's rules and pointed a finger. Corpse explosion. Chapter 4257, Unexpected. Lin Moyu still held 4 corpses of ancient tree kings. The ancient tree king was truly a half-step chaos realm existence with incredible vitality. The power released from the corpse explosion was also stronger. Although the ghost husband's clone had increased in strength, its core had not changed. Its state was similar to when Lin Moyu used the gathering power technique to enhance himself. Boom! Amidst the explosion, the ghost husband clone's roar abruptly cut off. His soul body fragmented under the bone-crushing attack and could not withstand the corpse explosion's power. But in the next second, the soul reassembled, and the ghost husband clone reappeared. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised. If the clone was this easy to deal with, it would be a disappointment. But Lin Moyu remained cautious. If the clone was so tough, 5th generation Heavenly Void Palace Master's true body would be even harder to handle. And if the clone proved useless, he could exile it and avoid combat altogether. 5th could not leave the 5th generation domain, so battle was inevitable. After being bombarded once, the ghost husband clone seemed to regain consciousness. Its aura returned to its original level. It still contained the power accumulated over endless years, but refrained from reckless use. Fatty's giant form charged again, and the ghost husband clone shouted coldly, "Battle demon ghost body!" Suddenly a giant apparition appeared, emanating chilling aura, fighting Fatty, while the ghost husband clone coldly watched Lin Moyu. "Today I acknowledge defeat, but your fate is already sealed," it said. "I will watch to see how utterly ruined you become." Lin Moyu frowned, catching a peculiar tone in the ghost husband clone's words. The clone clearly knew certain things but could not speak because of the chaotic rules. Yet it was fully aware of its identity. No sooner had it spoken than it ignited in flames, rousing the forces of origin power accumulated over years. along with vast heavenly fate and domain origin power, erupting with earth-shattering fury. The world-burning fire was dispersed. Lin Moyu sensed danger and prepared to use corpse explosion again, but suddenly found he could no longer lock onto the ghost husband clone. The clone used domain origin power and heavenly fate to conceal its aura and existence, cutting all lock-ons. Intent turned, rule power of the vast world surged from all directions, but could not approach. Rule power from the vast world collided with the fifth domain's force, rending infinite rifts and shaking the whole vast world. The ghost husband clone whispered, "I'll watch your fall, your destruction." Before it appeared, a massive rift surged with tidal chaotic chi. The ghost husband clone forcibly opened a passage to the chaos, through the fifth domain he was escaping. Lin Moyu tried to block him, but found it impossible. Undead minions surged in a dense tide of attacks, but were useless. The clone spewed endless ghost chi, devouring all attacks. The ghost husband had absorbed incomprehensible amounts of domain force over countless years. Although these forces could not raise his realm directly, they granted him great power in a short time and enabled other feats. Once attacked and having learned Lin Moyu's identity, the ghost husband clone no longer wished combat and chose to flee. Before entering the spatial rift, the clone glanced back at Lin Moyu, its gaze like that of a dead man. Lin Moyu's expression was cold yet helpless. None of his methods could stop the clone now. He couldn't approach the clone, and the catastrophic scepter could not kill him in time. Only by using the Fairy of Tribulation to give chase might he catch him, but entering chaos was not yet the time. With no solution, Lin Moyu could only watch helplessly as he fled. Suddenly, the ice jade mat blazed to life, cold chi sweeping out everywhere. Immense cold affected friend and foe alike, trillions of undead minions, fatty, rule power, space and time, all instant frozen. Including the ghost husband clone and the newly opened space channel, no exceptions. The clone's eyes still darted, gnashing teeth while struggling, but its vast domain power was completely silenced. Everyone present was frozen, only Lin Moyu remained free. Lin Moyu was stunned. The sudden eruption of the Ice Jade Mat's power was beyond his imagining. Fortunately, it's precisely the Ice Jade Mat's eruption that stopped the Ghost Husband clone's escape. The Ice Jade Mat flew forth on its own, and atop it appeared a phantom of the green-robed elder. Seeing the green-robed elder, the Ghost Husband clone showed immediate fear. He knew the elder and how powerful he was. But he had no idea it was the green-robed elder who had imprisoned his true body. The green-robed elder's methods were too advanced to fathom. He wanted to plead mercy but was frozen solid, unable to utter a sound, only able to move his eyes. Lin Moyu said softly, "Why did you come?" The green-robed elder chuckled. "If I did not come, how could this end here?" Lin Moyu said, "Ultimately, you let him escape. There'll be time another day to kill him." The green-robed elder said, "If he escapes now, he'll be much harder to capture." Lin Moyu said, "His true body is in your hands. Are you afraid you can't find his clones? And yet you know one clone is hiding in the domain core, and you haven't touched it." The green-robed elder chuckled again. "Why haven't I touched him? Surely you can guess." Lin Moyu wasn't slow. He knew the elder left the clone for himself. As long as Lin Moyu killed the clone, he would gain the heavenly fate and accumulating domain power. The clone possessed tremendous benefits for him. But now some accident happened, forcing the green-robed elder to act. Lin Moyu asked, "Doesn't this ruin the plan?" The elder shook his head. "I'm acting now to salvage it. Whether you act yourself or I do, most of the domain power and heavenly fate will still belong to you." He sighed. "In the end, you were too eager. If you were stronger, able to reach half-step chaos realm, then act, there would be no accident." Lin Moyu smiled. "Nothing in the world is a perfect plan. There will always be accidents." The elder sighed. "Yes, everything has accidents. If not for that one incident years ago, things wouldn't be like this. But it's still okay. It can be salvaged. You can act now. Kill him." Lin Moyu said, "I'm not strong enough. It's not easy to kill him." The elder said, "He can't move here. It's only a matter of how fast you kill him." As he spoke, a hint of regret lingered. He seemed to think Lin Moyu was too hasty, making things imperfect. But Lin Moyu thought the imperfection was good. Everything must leave a way out, like the laws of heaven and earth, with a thread of hope remaining. Fullness leads to decline, that's the best result. Now is good! Lin Moyu flicked his finger, igniting world-burning fire again, while the skeletal hell appeared. Engulfed in ice, swallowing the ghost husband, clone Shun. Chapter 4258, I Will Return Balance. The ghost husband's clone was frozen in solid ice, unable to move, forced to watch helplessly as world-burning fire slowly refined him. The hell fiends inside Skeletal, hell opened their mouths wide, gnawing him down bit by bit. All the power he'd absorbed and all the domain energy and fate he had accumulated over countless years were useless in this moment. He was in pain and despair, unable even to beg for mercy. As world-burning fire continued to burn, massive amounts of domain force and heavenly fate built from the ghost husband's clone. Lin Moyu was not polite, he absorbed all of it. In the process, he noticed some differences. The five-domain world and the vast world were completely distinct realms, and their domain energies were essentially incompatible. However, after purification by the ghost husband clone, the domain force lost the aura of a specific domain, becoming pure domain energy compatible with the vast world and causing no conflict. Lin Moyu tried fusing this domain force into the vast world, and to his surprise, the vast world could absorb it. With this new influx, the vast world's evolution accelerated dramatically and its very essence strengthened. Every minor change was acutely sensed by Lin Moyu. Even now, the vast world's strength was inferior to the five-domain world, which had evolved over an extremely long time. Though the vast world had a Lin Moyu's constant nurturing and accelerated growth, overtaking the five-domain world wouldn't happen overnight. As for the K-Dao domain and the spiritual marvel domain, the gap was even greater. So, it's possible to speed up evolution by supplementing with force from other domains. A bold idea flashed in Lin Moyu's mind. If he could thoroughly refine the domain force of the five-domain world, it would greatly accelerate the evolution of his other domains. According to his plan, he would eventually need to refine 9 domains. But these 9 realms would surely vary in strength if he failed to keep a balance. Trouble could occur. It was just a feeling, but Lin Moyu had always trusted his instincts, and this time was no exception. Now that he had realized this, he could fully refine domain force and use the strong to bolster the weak, striving for a state of equilibrium among all his realms. The green-robed elder grinned at Lin Moyu. This old man can't always step in, you'll have to rely on yourself from now on. Lin Moyu asked, Is the ghost husband still imprisoned by you? The green-robed elder said, He doesn't matter whether I keep him locked up or not, it's just a thought. From his tone, it was clear the ghost husband was nothing but an insignificant pawn to him. Lin Moyu didn't dwell on it and instead asked, How many Heaven-Earth Supremes are there in total? The green-robed elder said, 9 is the ultimate number. 9? That seems like quite a lot, Lin Moyu muttered. The green-robed elder chuckled. Very few, actually. Consider chaos is infinite. How many domains are out there and how many are at perfection in the chaos realm? There's no need to ask further specifics. When you step into chaos, you'll understand on your own. Lin Moyu nodded. I'll be back. I'll be waiting, the green-robed elder answered with a light laugh, his figure gradually fading until he vanished. He was gone, but his presence lingered. The ice jade mat kept radiating cold, and the ghost husband's clone remained frozen. World-burning fire burned like torture, melting him excruciatingly slowly. He was so strong that the fire took ages, prolonging his suffering. In that moment, the ghost husband's clone even regretted his own strength. If he'd been a bit weaker, he'd have turned to ash in no time instead of enduring endless agony. Now he could neither run nor scream, he could only silently wait for death. As the clone was gradually refined, more domain force and fate spilled forth. Lin Moyu incorporated the domain force into the vast world, driving its accelerated evolution, while he absorbed the fate, which was invaluable toward becoming master of the five-domain world. As the world-burning fire and skeletal hell refined and devoured the ghost husband's clone, both grew drastically stronger. After all, the ghost husband's true body was a perfection chaos realm powerhouse. Even this sliver of soul retained that essence, providing great benefit to the world-burning fire and skeletal hell lifting them to a higher tier. A truly generous man, Lin Moyu mused. The ghost husband's centuries of accumulation had all gone to himself. What else could that be but kindness? After 100 days of refining, it was finally over. The ghost husband's clone closed its eyes and faded from existence. Lin Moyu put away the ice jade mat, dispelled the cold, and Fatty, once thawed, instantly hollered, "I'm freezing! I'm freezing to death!" The ice jade mat froze everything, but without real harm. Fatty was only cold, nothing more. Lin Moyu dismissed the undead minions and closed his eyes, focusing on changes in the vast world. Having absorbed so much domain force was like saving hundreds of thousands of years, an enormous leap. The growth of the vast world in turn improved Lin Moyu's own cultivation. Now he stood at eternal peak, the highest tier the 5-domain world could support. Without relying on any spells, only the soulless beast could surpass him in the 5-domain world. Every other eternal was a step below. In other words, his cultivation within the 5-domain world had reached perfection in both body and soul. If he went any further, he would exceed the domain's upper limit and be forcefully ascended, leaving for chaos. But this wasn't his true goal. He still needed to refine the 5-domain world, become its master, and take down the 5th-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master, who was a genuine Chaos Realm powerhouse and very hard to handle. He was now faced with countless problems, giving him some headaches. Although he could use spells to force his way into the Chaos Realm, this would only let him display Chaos Realm offensive power. He was still far from a true Chaos Realm cultivator. He went through all his available tactics, trying to find a breakthrough. My biggest advantage is that he's still asleep and doesn't know what's happening outside. He's a master of divine runes, so formations will be much less effective on him. World-burning fire has grown, but still isn't enough to handle a Chaos Realm expert. The soulless beast can wield rule power, but the Palace Master is the domain's creator. He may know the rules even better than the beast, and the battlefield can't be inside the domain. Even the balanced gem might not work well against a Chaos Realm foe. Sorting through every option and plan, Lin Moyu found the opponent was nearly unsolvable. No matter which approach, he had little certainty, sometimes not even 50% confidence. Chapter 4259. The setup begins. One by one, Lin Moyu rejected various plans. He acutely sensed that when someone's power reaches a certain level, all schemes and preparations become meaningless. Any strategy before absolute power is just a paper tiger. After much consideration, Lin Moyu finally set his sights on the Catastrophic Scepter. Only this supreme-level artifact might break through the defenses of the 5th-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master. With this decided, all subsequent preparations must revolve around the Catastrophic Scepter, its core being how to use it to kill the 5th-generation Palace Master. First, determine the battlefield. It couldn't be inside the domain, but also could not be in the chaos. It should be in the area between the domain and chaos, which happens to be the realm of the soul-devouring spirits. For Lin Moyu, the biggest problem in this realm was the soul-devouring spirit emperor. Only by settling him could he engage in battle with confidence. The soul-devouring spirit emperor wasn't likely to affect the 5th Palace Master, and due to the latter's special identity, he might even help him. If this area wasn't chosen, there really was no other suitable place for battle. It seems I need to research the Catastrophic Scepter further, see if it has even greater potential. The recent eruption of the Ice Jade Mat had taught him a lesson. Such powerful artifacts were never simple, and their full strength depended on their wielder's cultivation and experience. The cause-seeking ring, for example, possessed seek cause, ask effect, as only its basic function, but in truth could do far more, such as effect without cause. Catastrophic Scepter should be the same. Besides smashing and the powers of its inlaid jewels, there must be further untapped abilities. It was just a matter of his own exploration. Moreover, fully leveraging the scepter's power required sufficiently high cultivation. If he could break past the Tao Lord's limit to reach half-step chaos, that would help. If he could actually begin the process of chaotification, it would be even better. After sorting these tangled thoughts, Lin Moyu finally had a general plan. First, continue refining the divine runes in the domain core, especially all those at the center. Only then could he fight without risking the domain's destruction. Second, Use the catastrophic scepter as the axis to construct a battlefield. Only by fighting in a self-set battle arena could he hope for victory. This battlefield would be huge in Lin Moyu's vision. Everything outside the domain, yet inside chaos, would become the battle zone. So he intended to set up an unprecedented formation to envelop the entire domain. Finally, a crucial step. Step into half-step chaos. Though this would trigger expulsion from the domain, with the soulless beast's help in his refined divine runes, he might tweak some rules and remain. If all three goals were met, his chance of victory would soar by his estimate. If all went smoothly, at least 60%. 60% wasn't a lot, but above half it was worth a gamble. In his entire cultivation life, Lin Moyu rarely gambled. He preferred absolute certainty before acting. But this time, he couldn't avoid the bet. So be it. Muttering to himself, Lin Moyu returned to the domain core. With the ghost husband's clone gone, the core felt cleaner, impurities expunged. As soon as he returned, the core erupted in thunder. Strands of heavenly fate descended, enveloping Lin Moyu this time. The fate was vast and mighty, much stronger than before, a reward for purging the ghost husband's clone. With the influx of fate, Lin Moyu felt even more closely bonded to the domain. The countless divine runes in the domain core seemed to radiate goodwill at him. This wasn't an illusion. Lin Moyu knew this was because domain rules instinctively favor those rich in heavenly fate. Heavenly fate is the domain's seal of approval, and now Lin Moyu was already the most favored by heavenly fate here. If anyone could become domain lord, it was surely himself. Riding this momentum, Lin Moyu began refining divine runes. Splitting off soul clones, he silently attached them to the runes, rapidly refining them one by one without disturbing the underlying vortices. With so much heavenly fate, his refining speed now was several times faster than before. In just a few dozen days, he had refined the 18 most central divine runes. This shocked Lin Moyu. These were supposed to be the hardest, and he had braced for a long struggle, but it was all so swift. He knew a big part of this was thanks to heavenly fate. Next, he slowly expanded outwards, refining more runes to enlarge his sphere of influence. He was very cautious, never disturbing the vortices behind the runes. But Lin Moyu knew, as he refined more and more, sooner or later, the fifth palace master would notice. After all, as Lin Moyu controlled more runes, his enemy would receive less domain power. So before the fifth could react, he had to finish other preparations. 100 years flew by. Lin Moyu didn't leave the core for a single step. And by now, about half the central region's runes belonged to him. For the whole domain core, he now controlled about 2/5 of the runes. At this point, Lin Moyu paused. He didn't push further, afraid to alarm the fifth palace master just yet. It wasn't time. Many tasks remained undone, so Lin Moyu stopped refining. Instead, he drew runes and set up formations in the domain core. Once, this would have been impossible, but with 2/5 of the runes under control, now he was qualified. He could even do other things too, if he wished. The formation was quickly completed. Lin Moyu summoned the soulless beast, who used rule power to anchor the formation, making it part of the runic array. The divine runes raised no objection, in fact. Some even aided by channeling their power into the formation, as if accepting it as kin, all thanks to Lin Moyu imbuing it with vast heavenly fate. The process went smoothly, just as Lin Moyu had hoped. The formation activated. A spatial tunnel appeared, linking the core to the outside of the domain. Lin Moyu had made a teleportation array, allowing him to pass freely between the domain core and the exterior. He stepped in and in the next instant stood beyond the domain. For the second time, feeling the air outside the domain, Lin Moyu faintly sensed soul-devouring spirit energies 1,000,000 kilometers away. He sent undead minions as patrols to sweep the area within 500,000 kilos of the domain, ridding it of soul-devouring spirits to clear the way. Lin Moyu then began laying out formations around the domain. This would be his battlefield with the fifth palace master. This battle would be fierce, yet could not endanger the domain, so the defensive array must be robust. Countless divine runes flew forth, becoming shields to protect the domain. Chapter 4260, A Ray of Light. Outside the domain, separated by the domain barrier, even though the barrier was extremely sturdy, in Lin Moyu's eyes it was not enough. Over the years, he had simulated countless times in his mind What a battle with the fifth-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master would be like. At the moment he was awakened, a large number of divine runes in the core of the domain would be detonated, plunging the five-domain world into chaos. At that time, the domain barrier would inevitably be damaged. If both the inside and outside of the domain suffered damage, any further impact would put the domain at even greater risk. If that person fell behind, he would certainly go mad and destroy the domain, choosing mutually assured destruction. This required advanced preparation. The importance of this formation was self-evident. Lin Moyu's requirement was that it must withstand a full-force blow from a Chaos Realm expert at least once. He used countless divine runes, forming layer after layer, continuously stacking them to increase the formation's defense. The domain was vast. Even with Lin Moyu's speed, it took a full 2,000 years to finish setting up the formation. At this moment, space within 100,000 li outside the domain barrier was like an armored fortress. Nothing could enter or leave. If anyone had attempted transcendence at this time, they would crash headlong into the formation and suffer terribly. This formation was the pinnacle of Lin Moyu's formation mastery and was named Firmament War Array. It was, for now, his absolute best. There was none better. But the Firmament War Array was not just defensively powerful, it hosted further mysteries. Inside the formation, 1,000,000 vortices turned slowly, each with a core of countless divine runes. A single glance could severely damage the soul of any great Tao Lord. Anyone below that level might have their soul instantly destroyed. But even this wasn't the limit. Lin Moyu also constructed a great teleportation array in the void. This array consisted of a main and subsidiary array. The main array outside the domain. The subsidiary refined into a formation disk. The dual teleportation array was a key step in his plan, the very first step determining success or failure. Just as when battling the Ghost Husband's clone, its function was to forcibly teleport the fifth-generation Palace Master's true body here. Once all this was complete, Lin Moyu teleported back to the domain core. The soulless beast had been waiting for some time. Master, the task you said is complete. While setting up the Firmament War Array, Lin Moyu had given the soulless beast a gather domain force to supply for Lin Moyu to refine after his return. Now his own cultivation was limited by the vast world, so to increase his cultivation, he first had to enhance the vast world. Absorbing and refining power from the five-domain world was the best and fastest way. Strengthening the vast world, stepping past the last threshold, and breaking through the eternal stage was one of Lin Moyu's next goals. This would take a long time. When the Ghost Husband clone was refining domain force, it took endless years. Even with the soulless beast's help, it wouldn't be quick. While refining domain force, he also delved into the Catastrophic Scepter's power. His soul entered the Catastrophic Scepter for formal research. For the first time, he never had the qualifications before. Now that he finally did, Lin Moyu hoped to find pleasant surprises. If he could uncover new uses for the scepter, the plan's chance of success could increase. Lin Moyu split his mind between the two tasks without the slightest strain. With the soulless beast around, domain force flowed quickly, much faster than what the Ghost Husband clone had obtained. Additionally, the world-burning fire purified the power at an astonishing rate, making domain force exceedingly pure. But Lin Moyu held back from infusing it into the vast world immediately. Other preparations were not complete. Compared to smoothly refining domain force, unraveling the Catastrophic Scepter's secrets was much more difficult. His soul power flowed through the scepter and into several jewels, but they only glimmered symbolically, imparting no useful information. Lin Moyu tried again, attempting to leave his soul imprint on the Catastrophic Scepter. Since obtaining it, he hadn't been able to do this. It didn't work before, nor did it now. The scepter was totally unresponsive. He tried to leave his imprint on the jewels, but they were like stubborn rocks, yielding nothing. Helpless, Lin Moyu continued exploring the interior of the Catastrophic Scepter. Finally, his soul power touched a special, independent space at the center of the five jewels. Touching this space, inspiration blossomed. He sensed he was finally on the right track. Soul power turned into a spike, trying to penetrate, but found there was a hard shell outside this independent space, extremely sturdy and difficult to pierce. Unwilling to give up, Lin Moyu made his soul power into a drill and began tunneling. With the world tree endlessly supplying soul power, he had the confidence for such persistence. For 10 full years, he never gave up. And at last, a tiny opening appeared in the shell. Eternal peak soul drilling at full strength for 10 years. And this is all I get? If it were another eternal, 1,000 years might not crack it at all. Lin Moyu understood his soul power was infinite, so he could always persevere. Others would run out and need to recover, drastically reducing efficiency. For someone at a lower realm like a great Tao Lord, even 1,000,000,000 years wouldn't achieve anything. This meant the bare minimum requirement for access was the eternal realm. Seeing some small progress gave Lin Moyu hope, and he continued drilling. Another few hundred years passed, and finally, after more than 300 years' effort, he bored through the shell. His soul power surged in with joy and beheld a sky. The void was boundless. Lin Moyu sensed the presence of chaos chi. This space was filled with chaos chi, yet it was different from typical chaos chi. Here, the chaos chi had clearly been refined and was supremely pure. Perhaps because he was the scepter's master, his soul took no harm here. He even felt an unspeakable familiarity. His soul power ventured further, exploring this endless void in all directions, not knowing which way might be right, so he searched everywhere. He had plenty of patience, willing to spend the time needed to map everything. With more and more soul power entering, he split it by tens and hundreds, sending hundreds of probes searching for clues, rapidly improving efficiency. Yet another 1,000 years passed. Finally, within the chaos-filled independent space, Lin Moyu spotted a faint glimmer of light. Chapter 4261, Breakthrough. After searching the endless void for many years and finally making a discovery, Lin Moyu was filled more with joy than anything else. It was the same feeling he had had when he found this independent space in the first place. His refusal to give up had finally borne fruit, and it was a wonderful sensation. Soul clones converged from all directions to the place of the faint glimmer, finally joining to see it clearly. It was a formation with 5 points, 4 corners, each projected a gemstone. Only one was vacant and incomplete, lacking anything. The 4 projected gems were soul, element, balance, and domain. The missing incomplete point was the 5th jewel that had yet to return. Lin Moyu examined the formation. It looked simple, but embodied endless truth, instantly captivating him. This formation taught Lin Moyu what it meant for the great Tao to be supremely simple. The entire formation was based on a single rune. It wasn't a divine rune, but a symbol he had encountered before without ever understanding it. It was a rune from chaos. Lin Moyu called it the chaos rune. A single chaos rune looked anything but complex, but its function was the equal of millions of divine runes. Previously, the wound left on the redstone True Veneral bore such a rune, but its tier was vastly inferior to this one. The chaos rune had unfolded into a formation, linking the jewels together, their powers crossed and melded within. Despite each gem having totally different properties, the power in this not at all complicated formation melded them perfectly. Lin Moyu watched the flow of power in the formation, tracing its lines as he studied not only the formation itself, but the 4 jewels. He was deeply entranced. This chaos rune had opened a new world before Lin Moyu's eyes, a glimpse of the tip of the iceberg of chaos. From the runes that natural-born chaotic creatures possessed, to the chaos rune now in the catastrophic scepter, it was clear, in case, runes are omnipresent and still a fundamental principle. Macro level, if he could fully master runes, he could walk through chaos with ease. Micro level, if Lin Moyu could unlock the mysteries of the chaos rune, he could master the catastrophic scepter and have much higher certainty in defeating the 5th generation Heavenly Void Palace Master. The chaos rune contained the ultimate secret of great Tao's supreme simplicity, simple yet endlessly complex, making Lin Moyu completely forget the passage of time. World-burning fire continued to blaze, refining domain force, storing up the purified domain energy. Just a few thousand years of accumulated, refined domain power rivaled what the East Avatar had obtained in total. Lin Moyu could only remark that the ghost husband clone had been far too conservative. Then again, it made sense. Being cut off from the main body, the soul clone, however autonomous, was still just a clone with obvious defects. A lack of change over countless years was already proof of that. When Lin Moyu awakened from his meditation on the formation, 7,000 years had passed. Once again, he had experienced how time means so little to cultivators. Thousands of years flashed by in an instant. In those 7,000 years, the vast world in the domain core barely changed. Only Lin Moyu himself had gained something from the chaos rune in the catastrophic scepter. He grasped some of its secrets. Even if it was just a tiny bit, it was a real harvest. He now understood a deeper layer of the catastrophic scepter's power. The catastrophic scepter's power was truly immense. Until now, he'd used only a fraction. Even at this stage, he had merely made minor progress. To truly wield its might, he would need to reach the Chaos Realm himself. But for now, as long as he advanced to half-step Chaos Realm, he would be able to contest the 5th-generation Palace Master. Formerly, his win rate had been 60%. Now it was at least 80% and rising. Lin Moyu left a soul clone inside the catastrophic scepter while his awareness returned to his own body. After millennia of quiet, he slowly opened his eyes, his voice like thunder. Time to break through! All the preparations were done. Now it was time to raise his realm. Take the final step, achieve half-step, Chaos Realm. In truth, Lin Moyu easily had the power for a full Chaos Realm ascension, but he refused. He needed to remain at half-step for now, to finish critical tasks that would become impossible after a full breakthrough. So he had to step into half-step Chaos Realm first. Only by doing so could he stick to his original plan. Entering half-step Chaos Realm would not be difficult. Lin Moyu was formally aware of how deep his own foundation ran. He only needed to elevate the vast world's tier. The moment it was powerful enough, he could break through. The domain power he'd stockpiled over thousands of years now came into play, pouring into the vast world and detonating to life under Lin Moyu's will. The vast world became a ravenous beast, greedily gulping down domain power. The vast world's evolution surged in speed. 10 days' time equaled 10,000 years. Its aura grew stronger, its level rose, and all its inhabitants reaped massive benefits as cultivation speed soared. Countless minor worlds sprang up like mushrooms after rain, and new beings constantly emerged within. Lin Moyu sensed that, besides the domain force he supplied, the vast world was also absorbing chaos chi from the chaos itself. Birthing life through evolution still required chaos. Lin Moyu now fully understood that chaos chi was the root, especially the laws inherent within, which formed the basis of everything. And the Tao, once faced by catastrophic supreme, was the ultimate source. Since its birth, the vast world had always been evolving ever faster. Lin Moyu's various methods had saved eons. This time, a few mere years of progress equaled millions of natural years. Lin Moyu watched as a thin new barrier appeared outside the vast world. This was the domain barrier. Its appearance meant the vast world had become a complete domain. Previously, the vast world qualified technically as a domain, but was always much weaker than the 5-domain world. The 5-domain world itself wasn't all that strong. The vast world was even weaker aside from its perfect rules and Lin Moyu's stewardship, free of the flaws the 5-domain world carried. Now the vast world's strength had caught up fully. It was no weaker than the 5-domain world. It could truly be renamed the Great 1,000 Domain, and now even give birth to transcendence. But this was not its ultimate limit. The 5-domain world had flaws and could not improve. Every prior domain allowed for half-step chaos cultivators, so the vast world could continue advancing. With more domain force to absorb, the vast world kept growing. Unconsciously, Lin Moyu realized a subtle link had formed between the vast world and the 5-domain world. The two domains were no longer hostile and seemed able to tolerate each other's existence. This gave Lin Moyu hope for the fusion of domains for his future plan to refine 9 domains. This was crucial. Hundreds of years passed. The vast world finally consumed all the domain energy, reaching its true limit. Lin Moyu's own strength also soared. The immortality, great Tao thundered within him, almost urging him toward breakthrough. Then breakthrough it is. Chapter 4262, Needs Support. Lin Moyu left the domain core, entered the origin return land, and stood atop the immortality great Tao. The power of the great Tao surged and gathered in his palm. where the forces of life and death intertwined to form a yin-yang sphere. Life and death energies poured in, making the yin-yang sphere ever stronger. When it reached its absolute peak, Lin Moyu suddenly slapped the sphere onto himself. Boom! The yin-yang sphere exploded. The powers of life and death enveloped Lin Moyu, his body as if split in two, half with the force of life, half with death. Reverse! With Lin Moyu's will, the two opposing forces reversed at the same time, each reaching their pinnacle before flipping to the other side. Life power converted into a force of death, even stronger than pure death force. Death energy, in turn, became a vast, surging force of life, enveloping one half of his body. After completing this reversal, the combined power was several times greater than before, yet still Lin Moyu was unsatisfied. He kept urging the forces of life and death to the summit once more. A second reversal. The power of life and death erupted again, undergoing a second reversal, pushing each further into the opposite extreme. The force generated was so great it nearly tore Lin Moyu's body apart. The power of the great Tao can reverse and ascend multiple times. Lin Moyu had performed similar feats using formation techniques in the past, but now he was using himself as the root, reversing and sublating the Tao with his own being. After this double reversal and ascent, the immortality great Tao grew even stronger. The immense power began to nourish his body, squeezing out the last impurities and making his flesh ever stronger, finally surpassing the eternal level. In the past, on the origin continent, few cultivated the body. The physical strength of cultivators was generally weak. This was a chronic problem if one's body wasn't strong enough. The highest they could ever reach was Origin Tao Lord. Becoming a great Tao Lord was almost impossible. Every great Tao Lord Lin Moyu observed, every eternal, had a powerful body. Some were a little weaker or stronger, but all met a minimum standard. After he became the master of the origin continent, Lin Moyu changed some of the continent's Tao rules so that every cultivator's body would strengthen as they progressed, even allowing further insight into physical cultivation. This effectively patched the flaw. As for his own physical power, Lin Moyu's body had always been among the strongest of the Eternals. Even the Lord of Strength, specializing in the body, was not as strong as him. Repeated use of strength, gathering arts, breaking and remaking his body, had made it powerfully resilient. This strength was preparation for the future, reaching half-step chaos realm and achieving chaotification. At this moment, his flesh led the way, beginning to sublimate and transcend. The domain rules noticed immediately, channeling in tendrils of force to try to expel Lin Moyu. Soulless! With a thought, the soulless beast, which had been preparing for this, gave a low roar. The expelling forces were scattered, the soulless beast using its privilege to temporarily keep Lin Moyu from being affected by the domain's rules. But this couldn't last forever. Lin Moyu needed to complete this breakthrough while it lasted. After breaking through, he could enter the Ferry of Tribulation, which was outside the domain's rules. As long as he stayed inside, he could avoid expulsion, and he had other options as well. His body continued to ascend and strengthen, his aura shifting as if from outside this domain. But he did not stop. He kept urging the immortality great Tao, driving the power of life and death to their limits after the second reversal. Sublimate! With a low shout, life and death power reversed and ascended a third time, growing even stronger. After this third ascent, both life and death energies doubled again in strength, this time pulling his soul along, beginning to break through. For most people, only one reversal and ascent is required. The resulting force would slowly permeate body and soul, completing transcendence. Lin Moyu was different. He wanted to be in complete control, using the moment of self-liberation and sublime reversal to push the immortality great Tao itself forward. Using Tao sublimation for transcendence is, in fact, uplifting the Tao. Most Eternals were unaware of this. True transcendence was not leaving the Tao behind. Instead, in chaos, one would still use the Tao, drawing on it to channel the power of chaos. So making the Tao stronger now would yield great benefits in the future. Many who seek transcendence find the Tao in their domain evolves a duplicate, merging with them, following them into chaos. But Lin Moyu would not do that. He intended to fuse the immortality great Tao directly into himself. So with each sublimation, He fed back his newfound power to the immortality great Tao, making it stronger. 3 times wasn't enough. Lin Moyu pushed his powers to the limit for a 4th sublimation. At the 4th ascent, his power multiplied again, putting enormous pressure on both body and soul. Both threatened to shatter. He steadied himself, growling, "Only 4 times?" 4 ascents was a miracle for most cultivators, inconceivable, yet Lin Moyu felt it wasn't enough. A voice inside whispered, 4 is not enough. Yet his body and soul said, otherwise they were at their absolute limit. A 5th would shatter both, not death, as his rebirth talent would restore him. But the current breakthrough would be forfeit once begun. He could not stop. He ran through his cultivation history, especially his path after becoming a Tao Lord. Every step was solid, his foundation unshakable. He could not improve on it with hindsight. If I want to increase the number of sublimations, I'll need external aid. Suddenly he realized no one could achieve more than 4 on their own, but his subconscious insisted on it because Catastrophic Supreme had once exceeded 4 ascensions. How? Not by personal power, but with external help. What help could he call on? Ice Jade Mat and Cause-Seeking Ring were denied immediately. Neither belonged wholly to him, and the Cause-Seeking Ring's backlash would destroy him if used. Catastrophic Scepter? Also know it was for killing, not cultivation. Perhaps it could help, but not now. The answer was not some outside artifact, but what he already possessed. Lin Moyu instantly realized World Tree and the Chaos Seed. One was sleeping, the other was in the Chaos World, absorbing Chaos Chi. Let's try. I need your help. Lin Moyu summoned his will, sending silent calls into his soul world, passing through the World Tree's branches. His intent thundered in the soul world, silent shouts that shook its depths. Moments later, the World Tree's branches shuddered violently. Chapter 4263. I'm back. Master, I've come to help you, Little Tree's voice rang out, clear and hopeful. Though it had been in a state of slumber and evolution, Little Tree was instantly awakened by Lin Moyu's call. With a chime of hope, it appeared beside Lin Moyu's soul. The World Tree's branches unfurled, enveloping the entire soul world and holding it firm as steel. More branches stretched down, covered with blooming spiritual flowers, 10, 100, 1,000 wrapping Lin Moyu securely. Then the branches reached out beyond the soul world, breaking through into the real world. Countless World Tree leaves transformed into armor, encasing Lin Moyu completely. At that moment, inspiration struck Lin Moyu. Sublimate. The 5th sublimation began. Life and death force reversed, erupted, and ascended all in an instant. Tremendous power poured from Lin Moyu's soul and body. Many spiritual flowers on the soul were ripped to shreds, but immediately more flowers appeared to fill the gaps. On his body, cracks appeared everywhere in the leaf armor, but new leaves quickly replaced them. Little Tree directed the World Tree, flooding Lin Moyu with energy and stabilizing his body and soul. The 5th sublimation safely passed. I gambled right. Lin Moyu was overjoyed. He had surpassed his former limits. If he now fed this back into his immortality great Tao, he would become almost invincible once he entered the Chaos Realm. Yet his subconscious urged him 5 was not the real limit. It could go further. 9 is the ultimate number. This idea flashed up out of nowhere, absurd, but somehow plausible. 9 sublations, his subconscious kept hinting at it repeatedly. Where did that urge come from? Perhaps it was nothing, just his mind's fancy. Or perhaps it was a remnant impulse left by Catastrophic Supreme. 5 times was already a miracle. To sublimate 9 times would be nearly impossible. Lin Moyu sent his thoughts to Little Tree. Can you keep going, Little Tree? Without hesitation, Little Tree answered, No problem. Master, keep going. Trusting Little Tree, Lin Moyu launched another cycle with the Immortality Great Tao, amassing power. Sublimate. A moment later, with another shouted command, the 6th reversal and sublimation began. Power doubled again. Hundreds and thousands of spiritual flowers were shredded, riddling his soul with cracks. But Little Tree instantly replaced them and locked in his soul with a tightening net of branches. Waves of overwhelming power crashed through him. Even Little Tree's own branches shattered, yet new ones always appeared, holding body and soul together. His leaf armor fared no better. It was tough as a forged treasure, but now tore apart like old rags. Still, with an infinite supply to repair it and branches binding his body, Lin Moyu's flesh endured. Surges of mighty energy restored body and soul. The sixth sublimation was past risky, but successful. However, Lin Moyu sensed that Little Tree was at its limit. The power just unleashed far surpassed the eternal stage and bordered on Chaos Realm strength. If he tried a seventh sublation, the force might cross fully into chaos, perhaps more than Little Tree could withstand. Yet the urge in his subconscious was relentless, prodding him to attempt a seventh. As he hesitated, Little Tree suddenly spoke up. "Master, I sense something near you that would be useful to me." Something? Instantly, Lin Moyu knew it was the heartwood left by the ancient Tree King. This? He produced the heartwood and handed it to Little Tree. Ecstatic, Little Tree replied, "That's it." "What's special about it?" asked Lin Moyu. Little Tree said, "I can feel that this used to be a part of me. My power lies within." Lin Moyu was startled. Wasn't this the ancient Tree Kings? How could it be Little Trees? Was there some connection between them? He remembered. The ancient Tree King sprang from a seed found by the fifth-generation palace master and grew under his care. Meanwhile, Little Tree had been fused from Lin Moyu's innate flame at a glance. There should be no link. But now wasn't the time for research. Little Tree quickly said, "With this, you can sublimate again." "Are you sure?" Lin Moyu pressed. "Absolutely," the tree affirmed. Still trusting, Lin Moyu said, "All right, get ready." Heedless of the oddity, as seen in while web novels focus on the breakthrough. Again, he ramped up the immortality Great Tao. In the origin return land, the Great Tao shuddered, unleashing boundless force into him. With 6 ascensions behind him, Lin Moyu's demands on the Tao were vast. The immortality. Great Tao supplied all it had so much, so that the entire origin return land thundered. The commotion soon drew the notice of other Eternals. On several other Great Taos, figures appeared. Their consciousnesses entered the origin return land to see what was happening. Upon viewing Lin Moyu's actions, all gave exclamations of shock, but quickly swallowed their voices, not daring to interrupt. Truly, they feared to disrupt Lin Moyu's cultivation. If he were disturbed and bore a grudge afterward, none of them could withstand him. Lin Moyu, after all, was no soft touch, and had destroyed Tao cultivators before. The power radiating from Lin Moyu was so mighty, even filtered by the rules, that it shook them all. It was clear he had already surpassed the domain's limits. Killing any one of them would have been trivial. Low voice from old Yinhead. "Lin Taoist's power is amazing," the human emperor said gravely. "Frightening indeed. We should observe closely for insight." Old Yinhead agreed. "Let's take a good look." His voice was cut off by an unseen force as the soulless beast appeared, invoking the rules to silence the origin return land. The whole place fell quiet. Sight was still possible, but speech forbidden. At last, Lin Moyu amassed enough power and roared, "Sublimate!" The 7th sublimation began. The Tao reversed smoothly. Titanic force exploded out. Spiritual flowers on the soul were shredded in an instant. Leaves on the body were decimated. Not only flowers and leaves, the very branches splintered. Cracks ran through both body and soul, both on the brink of destruction. The unleashed force was now fully within the chaos realm. The shock waves blew dozens of Eternals from their respective Great Taos, sending them flying and spinning, thrown all over the origin return land. Little Tree raised the ancient Tree King's heartwood. "Suppress!" The heartwood blazed. The ancient Tree King's phantom crashed down. Behind Lin Moyu's soul and flesh, the phantom melded with him, stabilizing everything. What had been on the verge of shattering now recovered. But the heartwood's glow faded rapidly. It was a one-time gift. At this point, a gap opened in the soul world. With a whoop, the chaos seed came flying in. "Master, I'm back, I'm back!" Chapter 4264. Unreliable Things. The chaos seed finally returned, darting wildly around the soul world, clearly excited. "Master, what are you playing at?" "Little Tree, spill it. What's the fun here?" Change. Lin Moyu had just completed his 7th sublimation. I'm transcending my body and soul can't stabilize. Do you know a way? The Chaos Seed answered, that's easy. Just finish basic chaotification and you're done. Lin Moyu snorted. I haven't transcended yet. How do I chaotify? The Chaos Seed, entirely confident, said, what's so hard about that? You don't have to transcend first to achieve chaotification. Others can't. But I can help. As he spoke, he flew to Lin Moyu's head, and the little Chaos Pearl cracked open, pouring out a flood of Chaos Chi. The Chaos Seed's true form was the Chaos Pearl, which contained an independent world inside. Lin Moyu had never been inside this world before, but now realized it was filled with Chaos Chi and not ordinary Chaos Chi. The Chaos Chi inside the Chaos Pearl was non-aggressive, somewhat similar to the Chaos Chi within the Catastrophic Scepter. But the key difference, the Chaos Chi inside the Chaos Pearl was under someone's control. The Chaos Seed directed the Chaos Chi down like sweet rain, letting it pour onto Lin Moyu's body. The Chaos Chi immediately seeped into the surface of his soul. Lin Moyu instantly sensed subtle changes. The skin of his soul altered in nature from eggshell to stone. Both its toughness and solidity underwent a qualitative shift. Lin Moyu felt a newfound heaviness to his soul, no longer hazy and illusory as before. He even faintly sensed he was transitioning from the virtual world toward reality. This change in his soul was mirrored in his flesh, as his skin too began to chaotify. His physical power and defenses soared tremendously. Lin Moyu was shocked by the transformation. In his experience, chaotification had always required years of accumulation, if not several thousand at minimum. But with the Chaos Seed's help, it seemed it could be achieved in almost no time. The Chaos Seed suddenly said, Master, quit spacing out. Go on. Keep sublimating. Lin Moyu snapped back into action and powered up the Immortality Great Tao, gathering energy once again. Next came the 8th sublimation, which required enormous power. And the Great Tao's own power level wasn't enough. Accumulation took even longer. Throughout, the Chaos Seed kept chaotifying Lin Moyu, who delightedly enjoyed the process. He did nothing himself. Chaotification finished almost effortlessly. Who else could enjoy such a privilege? At last, when he gathered enough power, Lin Moyu said, I'm ready to sublimate again. The Chaos Seed guaranteed, Master, go for it. But deep inside, Lin Moyu felt a little uneasy. He didn't trust the Chaos Seed quite the way he trusted Little Tree. Still, he decided to continue. Sublimate. With a thought, the 8th sublimation began. Boom! With a deafening roar, the tremendous energy of the 8th sublimation erupted, blowing all nearby great Deos out of the way again. Luckily, the other Eternals had anticipated this and moved far away to avoid being embarrassed. A surging tide of power ripped through the origin return land. Lin Moyu's legs abruptly exploded, turning to powder. Both body and soul were hit in the same way. Thankfully, it was only his legs. At least his upper body was still intact, though cracked in places instead of shattering. Lin Moyu frowned. Physical pain wasn't a big deal for him, but this kind of accident shouldn't have occurred. He could feel the 8th sublimation's energy raging inside him, held back by his now chaotified skin as the wild force tempered his flesh and soul, making both stronger. But his lower body, Lin Moyu was helpless. The Chaos Seed called out apologetically, Whoops! Sorry, Master. Your lower body didn't get chaotified in time. Lin Moyu was speechless. And you told me just go for it, Chaos Seed said sheepishly. Didn't expect the power to spike like that, whoops. Turns out Lin Moyu's gut feeling was right. The Chaos Seed just wasn't as reliable as Little Tree. Fortunately, his upper body survived, and the sublimation wasn't interrupted. Once things calmed, Little Tree immediately began healing Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu also used life force to heal himself. Throughout, Little Tree kept quiet clearly. He too found the Chaos Seed exasperating. Gradually, Lin Moyu's soul recovered, and his body returned to normal as well. Chaos Seed funneled more Chaos Chi into Lin Moyu's legs. Don't worry, Master. Next time there won't be any trouble. Lin Moyu remained skeptical. You sure you can keep going? See the most exciting novels on Falu. Chaos Seed replied, shouldn't be a problem. Should what the heck does should mean? For the 9th sublimation, where the power would double yet again, Lin Moyu had no confidence, since it was only his skin that had chaotified. Sensing Lin Moyu's silence, Chaos Seed whispered, Master, control the sublimation speed. Wait for catification to finish before trying again, and I'm at least 70% sure you'll survive. All right, at least that made sense. With 70% certainty, Lin Moyu decided to risk it. 9 sublimations would grant him unbeatable strength in his realm, even letting him punch above his level. It would boost his odds even more when dueling the 5th-generation Palace Master at half-step chaos. Resolved, Lin Moyu once again urged on the Immortality Great Tao, more slowly this time, to buy Chaos Seed more time. Chaos Seed picked up the pace, fully focusing on chaotifying Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu sensed both body and soul skin reaching an ever greater qualitative change, power rising, flaws disappearing. Once the skin was fully chaotified, he could enter chaos proper, but he still wouldn't be able to draw on the full power of chaos. So this step didn't really change his broader strategy. He still couldn't make chaos itself his battlefield after all. The 5th Palace Master was true chaos realm, and Lin Moyu would be at a disadvantage fighting in chaos. The battlefield plan stayed as before. His ultimate strategy was unchanged. Finally, Chaos Seed stopped pouring out Chaos Ki. Master, you're now fully chaotified. At that moment, Lin Moyu filled himself to the limit with great Tao force, and Little Tree once more summoned masses of spirit flowers and leaves to wrap his soul and body. It might not help much, but it was better than nothing. 70% odds should be fine, Lin Moyu decided. Let's begin. Boom! His soul and body were instantly covered in cracks, seemingly on the verge of shattering. Even with full skin chaotification, he could barely hold out. The mere energy leaking out through the cracks instantly destroyed every spirit flower and world tree leaf. Sublimation raged on, the cracks spreading steadily. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Lin Moyu's body and soul completely shattered and the sublimation failed. A miscalculation, he muttered to himself. The 9th sublimation unleashed 2 to 3 times the power of the 8th. No method could keep his soul and body from breaking apart. The destructive force far exceeded what he anticipated. The 9th ascent was truly the ultimate. Something was different. Chaos Seed spurted more chaos chi, but it was useless. He transformed into a giant cauldron and tried to cook Lin Moyu inside, but the cauldron hadn't even touched him before it was blasted away by great Tao force. Strange rules shattered space and poured in to wrap Lin Moyu's soul. The Chaos Seed yelped, "Chaos rules! Why are chaos rules coming for him?" Little Tree burst with light, a torrent of world fruits. Spirit flowers and leaves dropped into silver gold sap and dissolved instantly. The sap's aura surged, growing ever stronger, but also rapidly depleting. Little Tree shouted, and the gold-silver sap surged in a great wave toward Lin Moyu. Chapter 4265, the 10th Sublimation. The gold-silver tree sap usually has the effects of clearing the mind and speeding up cultivation. But now, after merging with world tree branches, world fruits, and spiritual flowers, its effects have mutated. The gold-silver tree sap now possessed stabilizing, restorative, resilient, strengthening effects, all originating from the same source, and all greatly magnified after blending. The only problem was that, where once the gold-silver sap had existed in massive quantities, it was now rapidly depleting, a 1,000-fold shrinkage in an instant, nearing total exhaustion. This was overdrafting, exhausting all its abilities, and all of Little Tree's strength. The blended sap soaked Lin Moyu's body. His soul and flesh, which had been cracking apart, were nourished. The splitting halted, and recovery began. Little Tree's aura was faint, but he was happy for Lin Moyu's sublimation could finally succeed, even if the price was steep. As long as Lin Moyu survived, so would Little Tree, and sooner or later everything could be replenished. The Chaos Seed zipped over to Little Tree. "Awesome!" Little Tree smiled. "He's finally going to make it." The Chaos Seed, a little smug, added, "Of course, with us here, how could he fail?" Bathed in the gold-silver tree sap, Lin Moyu's soul and body rapidly stabilized. Cracks vanishing in the blink of an eye, the 9th sublimation finally weathered safely. Lin Moyu let out a sigh of relief. He could feel vast power burgeoning within. The force of his great Tao had reached an inconceivable level, at least 100 times greater than before. The power sublimation was complete, leaving just one last step. He needed to feed this strength back into his immortality, great Tao, draw it into himself, and merge with it. That way he could break into the chaos realm, but he was determined to suppress his breakthrough, remaining for now at half-step chaos. It was simple. After feeding back to the Tao, refrain from drawing it fully in or merging. In this way, he'd stall at half-step chaos. Once his business in the domain was settled, he would merge with the Tao, break through the Soul Devourer Sovereign's blockade, and step into chaos. Once exposed to true chaos chi, he'd formally enter the chaos realm. That had always been the plan. He was just about to feed this power into his immortality great Tao, when suddenly the catastrophic scepter in his soul flared to life. The four jewels hummed, the formation at the scepter's core whirred, and a torrent of power blasted from the scepter into Lin Moyu. Just after sublimation, his power began rising yet again. The ninefold sublimated strength, already at its limit, now exploded upwards one last time because of the catastrophic scepter, pushing his immortality Tao force to an absolute peak. Before Lin Moyu could react, the limit was shattered, and he was thrust into another sublimation, the 10th. Horrifying energy surged out from Lin Moyu, blowing away the rules of the origin return land. The other great Taos inside bent and twisted to the brink of collapse. The watching eternal beings all turned pale. They could feel their own Taos becoming unstable, nearing the point of shattering. But there was nothing they could do. The blast of force spat their bodies out of the origin return land, shattering them one after another. The whole origin return land trembled. If this went on, the origin return land itself could collapse. If that happened, those Eternals would be reduced at best to ordinary Tao Lords, at worst to total annihilation. If the origin return land shattered, the divine runes in the domain core would be affected, all life would be thrown into chaos. Devastation would not be the worst outcome. Even total world collapse would be in the cards. And all of this was because of Lin Moyu. No matter how great his constitutional heavenly fate, it would all be stripped from him, and the domain's laws would treat him as an enemy. The soulless beast roared again and again, pulling on the rules to forcibly stabilize the origin return land in the Great Deos. Lin Moyu himself was full of cracks, the 10th sublimation, and he couldn't withstand it, not even with the gold-silver sap. Just a few moments before, the Chaos Seed had been cheerfully gloating, but now he was dumbstruck. "How did this happen?" Little Tree cried. "Quit talking! Do something!" "What can I do?" the Chaos Seed shouted instinctively. Little Tree whipped his little hands, sending countless branches to Lin Moyu. The tree trunk split open, surging with power to help stabilize Lin Moyu's body. But after all the energy already expended, even Little Tree's all-out effort wasn't enough. The Chaos Seed, frantic, darted around. After a few breaths, he suddenly yelled, "Forget it, no more thinking, all or nothing." The Chaos Pearl shot to Lin Moyu's head, ballooned to 100 meters across, and split with a massive crack. At the same time, the Chaos Seed shouted, "Little Tree, stop now." Little Tree instantly stopped, as the Chaos Pearl erupted with a flood of chaos chi that enveloped Lin Moyu. Right now, Lin Moyu was fully occupied holding back the rampaging force within, with no attention for whatever the others were doing. For him, everything was a chaotic mess. He'd finally completed 9 sublimations and reached the limit. But then the catastrophic scepter had suddenly triggered a 10th, breaking all the rules and letting everything spiral out of control. With no way out, Lin Moyu could only trust Little Tree and the Chaos Seed. Read explosive novels at Falu. With the help of Chaos Chi, the Chaos Seed linked with Lin Moyu. With this boost, the rate at which Lin Moyu's soul disintegrated slowed slightly, but only slightly. "Sacrifice!" the Chaos Seed wailed. Just then, in the chaotic region outside the vast world, 10 trillion undead followers stirred and awoke. All 10 trillion undead lurched out of the vast world, entered the soul world, and then poured into the Chaos Pearl. Once inside, they immediately self-detonated. The massive release was instantaneously absorbed by the Chaos Pearl, transformed into greater power that surged into Lin Moyu's body. The undead self-detonation created bridges, absorbing Lin Moyu's wild roaring Tao force and sending it back along special channels to the Chaos Pearl. The Chaos Pearl thundered without end. The force drawn out of Lin Moyu detonated inside, making the Chaos Seed howl from agony. The pearl was his true body when it took a hit. He felt the pain. Despite this, the Chaos Seed never let up. With the undead as the bridge, he kept channeling the chaos in Lin Moyu's body into the pearl, easing the pressure, even as he took greater and greater punishment. Thankfully, the pearl was strong enough, though the Chaos Seed's screams never stopped. He survived without severe harm. The undead kept up the rush, diving in and self-destructing, building the bridges. Seeing this, Little Tree used up his last gold-silver sap to continue nurturing Lin Moyu. Any little help might just tip the balance. Gradually, Lin Moyu's power began to ebb. The cracks in his soul stabilized. No longer spreading, they were at last under control. The gold-silver sap was exhausted. Little Tree withdrew, hoping the Chaos Seed could hold out. He could see its success was close at hand. The undead's numbers were almost gone, but the Chaos Seed fought on. He could feel the end was near. Within the catastrophic scepter's core, Lin Moyu's clone waited outside the formation as the formation began to spin, and a phantom appeared at its heart. Chapter 4266, You Are Me, Yet Not Me. The faceless phantom appeared in that instant. Lin Moyu felt all space and time freeze. It wasn't an illusion, it was true stasis, not just within the catastrophic scepter, but even Lin Moyu's soul world. The origin, return, land, everything, all of time and space, was rendered motionless. The soulless beast hadn't noticed a thing. He was frozen in place. The wild winds and rampant power of the origin return land halted completely as the phantom appeared. The great Daos stopped flowing. The origin return land was sealed by an invisible power. All connections to the outside were severed. Inside the catastrophic scepter, Lin Moyu gazed at the being in the center of the formation and immediately guessed his identity. He must be the catastrophic supreme, his own previous incarnation. A thread of his consciousness had been hidden deep within the catastrophic scepter's core, and despite all Lin Moyu's years studying the formation, he had not discovered it. The concealment ran unimaginably deep. By instinct, Lin Moyu asked in a low voice, "Are you still here?" The phantom had no face, but Lin Moyu could feel it watching him. After a while, the phantom's voice slowly echoed out, "I am gone, but you are here." Lin Moyu felt a faint shock in his heart. That sentence nearly confirmed he was the reincarnation of the catastrophic supreme, leaving Lin Moyu both complicated and conflicted inside. When he first suspected he might be the catastrophic supreme's reincarnation, he was struck by a nameless emotion, neither joy nor unease. The phantom continued, "I know what's on your shin. You are me, yet you are not me. There's no need to fuss over that." He'd seen through Lin Moyu's thoughts and provided an answer. He didn't spell things out. If Lin Moyu understood, good. If not, he wouldn't explain further. He gave Lin Moyu no time to ponder, but went on. "Back then, I achieved ninefold sublimation, my power peerless. But in the face of him, I still had no ability to resist, because I could not break the rules." Lin Moyu naturally understood who he was. The Tao, the end of all. No one knew the Tao's true face, nor how it existed, or where it was simply all-knowing. Merely mentioning it would draw its attention. Even as the catastrophic supreme's consciousness froze time and space, his words and actions would not be recorded by the time-great Tao. Yet he still dared not utter the Tao's name. Lin Moyu asked, "How do you break the rules?" The catastrophic supreme answered, "Breaking the rules requires two things. The catastrophic scepter is the first. I expect you've already obtained cause-effect. Binding gather all 5 jewels, and you will gain the power to break rules. The second is yourself. If you cannot break the rules yourself, you have no right to oppose him." Lin Moyu understood. The catastrophic supreme battled to the edge of chaos and faced the Tao. With the catastrophic scepter in hand, he should have had a chance to clash with the Tao. Yet because he was still bound by the rules, he lost completely. Ninefold sublimation. Matchless power, yet still defeated. The Supreme continued, "To sublimate your Tao's origin is what both those at the Chaos Realm and Supremes do. But there is order. The later cannot compare with the earlier, the less cannot match the more. When breaking into the Chaos Realm, that's the best moment for Tao sublimation. Miss it, and it becomes thousands of times harder. That moment is also the only chance to surpass the rules. I know you want to ask why, because of rank. He won't pay attention to any being below Chaos Realm, entities not even ants by his measure. Lin Moyu got it. The Tao claimed omniscience, yet not everyone was worthy of its attention. The dividing line was Chaos Realm. At Chaos, you boss an ant, below that, less than an insect. Thus, the sole chance to surpass the rules came at the moment of achieving Chaos Realm. Realizing all this, Lin Moyu found it almost bitterly funny. He'd trained so long only to reach the threshold of being seen as an ant. The Supreme went on, and now you have surpassed the rules. When you step into chaos, you will be noticed and killed by him without hesitation. That's why I must seal your power until you have the strength to face him, then unseal it. Lin Moyu hesitated. But by doing this, can you really fool him? The Supreme replied, the catastrophic scepter is an existence that transcends rules in all chaos. Only the scepter can do this. That is why I remained here. My remaining strength is scant. I cannot lock down time and space for long. You must send most of your soul here, and then I will shut this place completely until you willingly open it again. Two choices lay before Lin Moyu. First, trust the Supreme. Seal part of his soul and power here. But doing so, he could not guarantee absolute safety. What if the Supreme harbored ill intent or lied? Second, do not trust, but then, on entering the Chaos Realm, he would likely be killed at once. Lin Moyu deliberated at length before deciding to trust the catastrophic Supreme. In a brief moment, so many thoughts rushed through his mind. His instinct told him this vestige of the Supreme was not deceiving him. Now, the 10th sublimation was nearly finished. He hadn't yet fed his power back to his Tao. His soul and all his strength were at their peak. The power after the 10th sublimation was immense. Even Lin Moyu found it frightening. He even had the illusion that, without needing to use strength-boosting arts, he could already cross ranks and solo a Chaos Realm foe. He sent most of his power and a portion of his soul into the catastrophic scepter, embedding them within that independent space in the formation inside. Within the formation, the Supreme acted, sealing Lin Moyu's soul and power. Lin Moyu watched as the Supreme's presence faded, his remaining energy draining rapidly. By the time the seal was finished, he too would vanish. Lin Moyu whispered, "You're about to fade away." The Supreme replied, "That's the meaning of my existence here. Remember this, you are me, but also not me. Walk your own road. All the roads trodden by others lead to failure. You must find your path. On your path, there are no references or signposts, only your own exploration. I hope you can surpass the end and truly stand atop the summit." The catastrophic scepter's inner space closed slowly. With his last strength, the Supreme sealed the place. Lin Moyu's aura plummeted. Now his state was equivalent to when he'd completed his 6th sublimation. The Supreme had sealed most of his power, but Lin Moyu could still faintly sense the sealed part of his soul. As long as he held the catastrophic scepter, he could use it to connect. If his own power grew, the sealed soul would also grow. Like a divine beast in chains, waiting for a day to break free in an ultimate eruption. Read the most explosive novels at Falu. With a soft sigh, Lin Moyu began feeding his power back to the immortality Great Tao, preparing to formally step into half-step chaos. Chapter 42-67, Wishing Senior Lin all the best. The immortality Great Tao grew ever stronger amidst its resonance. With prior experience, feeding power back into the immortality Great Tao progressed smoothly. The chaos seed shrank back to normal size and whirled around Lin Moyu. "Master, are you okay? Why has your aura weakened?" Little Tree was also perplexed. Lin Moyu's aura, once overwhelmingly powerful, had now diminished manyfold, and they couldn't figure out why. Lin Moyu gave no response, lost in deep thought. He had chosen to trust the catastrophic Supreme. That meant total trust. Filtering all the Supreme's words through this lens brought forth entirely new insights. That wisp of thought that the catastrophic Supreme left behind was always hidden in the core of the catastrophic scepter. Only by hiding so deep could it avoid the Tao's detection. The purpose for remaining there was to ensure that, upon reaching the Chaos Realm, Lin Moyu could accomplish tenfold sublimation and thus surpass the rules. He did indeed succeed, but this path was filled with variables. What if he hadn't obtained the catastrophic scepter? What if he'd failed to achieve the ninefold sublimation? He'd only finished those 9 layers thanks to the World Tree and Chaos Seed, paying a huge price each step. There were just too many unpredictable factors even a Supreme could not foresee it all. Lin Moyu's thoughts instinctively turned to the green-robed elder. He had been the true manipulator behind it all. In other words, the green-robed elder, the white-robed elder, and Heavenly Void's son, they were all in it together. What then was their relationship to Catastrophic Supreme? Brothers, friends, subordinates. Without a doubt, Catastrophic Supreme had already reached the pinnacle of chaos back then. Even among other Supremes, he must have been the strongest. This was a question perhaps only answerable once Lin Moyu himself reached that level. In their entire dialogue, the most important thing was what the Catastrophic Supreme said at the end. You are me, and yet not me. The road you walk is one walked by no one before. There are no signposts, only your own way forward. Lin Moyu pondered this deeply. Though he was very likely the Supreme's reincarnation, it was not an ordinary reincarnation. His memories, soul, identity had all changed. Perhaps he'd inherited something from Catastrophic Supreme, but he was already a new individual. I am him, and yet not him. The road he must travel was one no predecessor, including Catastrophic Supreme himself, had ever trodden. Only thus could he hope to defeat the Tao, to leap from the chaos pinnacle to the true summit. It was certain that Tao was the final adversary at the end of Chem and the being he must ultimately overcome. Of course, he could also choose not to try, just muddle along in chaos like all the rest. But Lin Moyu believed fate and causality wouldn't let him be so comfortable. Catastrophic Supreme and the green-robed elders had set up a colossal game, using all of chaos as the chessboard, with stakes unimaginably high. If they won, the rewards would be equally unimaginable. If not, there would be endless calamity. Yet Lin Moyu had the sense that even if he failed, someone like the green-robed elder who always hid in the shadows would be just fine. He was the secret hand, the one with the chance to overturn the board. Besides him, there was also a white-robed elder, hidden even deeper. With these things clear, Lin Moyu's heart was brightened. He understood the direction he must go. Lin Moyu slowly opened his eyes and looked at the Chaos Seed and Little Tree. Thank you both for your hard work. Little Tree shook his head. It's nothing, so long as Master is safe. The Chaos Seed chimed in. As long as you're fine. I suffered heavy losses this time, 10,000 years worth of work ruined. Both Little Tree and the Chaos Seed had paid dearly. At this moment, Little Tree was spent, his aura weak, and the Chaos Seed was in the same state. But when Chaos Seed said 10,000 years of effort was wasted, that was an exaggeration. It was closer to a few hundred years. Lin Moyu said, go rest and recover for now. Little Tree gave a soft hum, his branches stretching out, his roots burrowing back into chaos as he entered slumber again. But he wouldn't sleep long this time, and could be summoned any time if needed. Chaos Seed also pierced the void, heading for chaos. As he left, he called out, if there's a big deal, call me, otherwise leave me out of it. Lin Moyu's mind returned to reality. After being fed by the immortality great Tao, it was now dozens of times stronger. The Origin Return Land could hardly contain it any longer. The soulless beast used the rules to let the immortality great Tao stay in place for the time being, awaiting Lin Moyu's full awakening. Looking at the battered Origin Return Land, Lin Moyu said, thanks for your hard work. The soulless beast shook his head. Not at all. Master is already half-step chaos, and the immortality great Tao can't remain here long. You'll need to think of a solution. Lin Moyu replied, that's easy. As he spoke, divine runes flew forth, covering the entirety of the immortality great Tao, greatly suppressing its aura. The Tao's strength was unchanged, but its outward strength was masked, thus tricking the domain's rules. Lin Moyu did the same, cloaking himself with divine runes to hide his own aura from the rules as well. With each round of power sublimation, Lin Moyu had gained much, especially from seeing how the Catastrophic Supreme sealed away his power. There was great insight to be had. Divine runes, with their infinite transformations, could simulate all things, even converting the mundane into the miraculous. The core of the five-domain world was also divine runes, and now Lin Moyu was comprehending them even more deeply, already beginning to touch on chaos runes. Tricking the core of the domain with divine runes was now a simple task. Having thus fooled the rules, the soulless beast could free its hands and tidy up the aftermath in the origin return land. Everything returned to normal. Once finished, he asked, "Master, what's next?" Lin Moyu said, "I need to return to the deepest part of the beast abyss and set up a major array there." The soulless beast nodded. "I'll open the path, Master." At that moment, several great Daos quivered. Old Yin Head and the others returned to the origin return land. Their earlier projections had been scattered, and with time and space on pause, they hadn't been able to access the origin return land until now. Old Yin Head sized Lin Moyu up, full of questions. Lin Moyu had not only fooled the domain rules, but these Eternals as well. In the end, Old Yin Head couldn't help but ask, "Fellow Taoist Lin, did you succeed?" Lin Moyu honestly replied, "Yes, I've made it. I'm now half-step chaos." Old Yin Head asked, "So will you be leaving the domain for chaos next?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "There are still things I need to finish before I go." Old Yin Head didn't ask what those were. It was Lin Moyu's private business, none of his concern. The human emperor was clever. He immediately said, "Then let me wish Senior Lin all the best." Now that Lin Moyu was half-step chaos, he was no longer an equal, but a senior. It was just an honorific, but it did reflect deep respect for strength. The human emperor had always respected the strong and was wildly ambitious. Lin Moyu glanced at him. "You're too polite. I see you're also close to a breakthrough. Let me advise, don't break through just yet. When I was breaking through, I observed changes in heaven and earth. There's something strange happening beyond the domain. If you attempt a breakthrough now, it won't work. If you wait a few thousand years, you may reap unexpected rewards." Chapter 4268. It's your daddy. Naturally, Lin Moyu wasn't about to tell them that he had set up a Skydome war array outside the domain. There was absolutely no way they were getting out. He just found another excuse, and whether they believed it or not was their own business. Everyone must accept the consequences of their own choices. If they chose not to trust him and still tried to break through, sorry, that's on them. Failing horribly and crashing and burning is just par for the course. Lin Moyu left the origin return land, taking the path opened by the soulless beast, heading directly into the beast abyss to its deepest point. Here there was a barrier behind it, lay the slumbering body of the fifth-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master. Last time, Lin Moyu had only made a cursory investigation. This time, he set up an array within the barrier itself. Of course, this required not triggering the formation that already existed inside the barrier. Last time, Lin Moyu's formation mastery was not up to that task. But things were different now. His formation skills had improved dramatically, already surpassing the fifth-generation Palace Master. Divine runes after divine runes flew from his hand, blending into the barrier. Without disturbing the existing structure, he completed his own array. This formation was extremely important. When his plan was set in motion, this array would be the first detonation point. Next, outside the barrier, Lin Moyu placed an array disk. Previously, he'd constructed a massive teleportation formation outside the domain, divided into main and sub-arrays. This disk was the sub-array. The main array was at the chosen battlefield outside the domain. After all was ready, he returned straight to the domain core. He continued refining divine runes. By now, half of the central region's runes had been refined. If he could refine more, the whole five-domain world would suffer less damage. He worked with the utmost care as soundlessly as possible. But he knew that continuing to refine runes would inevitably arouse the fifth-generation Palace Master. The more runes Lin Moyu refined, the less domain force the Palace Master could draw. Correspondingly, as Lin Moyu mastered more runes, his connection to the domain deepened. Lin Moyu was fully prepared to respond to the Palace Master's awakening at any time. No one knew exactly when that would be. He could only hope the Master would snooze as long as possible. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. The divine runes at the center were nearly all refined, so Lin Moyu could finally relax a bit. As long as he finished the center, Even if the fifth-generation Palace Master awakened, he would not be able to destroy the domain easily. Master, I sense a fluctuation. The soulless beast's voice rang out suddenly. Over all these years, the soulless beast had kept constant watch on the Palace Master, ready to alert Lin Moyu the moment something changed. Lin Moyu stopped his hand, and a divine rune flew to land atop one vortex. There were countless vortices in the domain core, and each one was connected to the Palace Master's true body. Through the rune, Lin Moyu instantly sensed the other's power pulsing and about to awaken. The rhythm of those pulses sped up. It was clear the Palace Master would wake very soon. Lin Moyu took a deep breath. Later than I expected. Good. Who are we? The soulless beast opened a portal straight to the deepest point of the beast abyss, and at the same time Lin Moyu secretly contacted the World Tree, calling it awake to help prepare for the coming battle. After 1,000 years, the World Tree was nearly fully recovered. A major fight would be no issue. Back when Lin Moyu became eternal, the World Tree slept for 10,000 years until he awoke it. Now it was still evolving, still in its metamorphosis. On the surface, its attributes hadn't changed much, but Lin Moyu could sense a great leap in its power and realm. The World Tree was no longer just support. It could fight, cross the bounds of reality and illusion. Purely in terms of strength, the World Tree was already beyond ordinary Eternals, close to half-step chaos. Lin Moyu realized the World Tree's limits were tied to his own. He was its ceiling, and as he became stronger, so did the World Tree. Now fully awakened, the World Tree was ready. In the chaotic zone beyond the vast world, nearly 20 trillion undead minions were massed and ready. In 1,000 years, all consumed undead were replenished. As the vast world's strength grew, so too did the Chaos region, and now the undead army had reached a staggering 20 trillion. It wasn't just numbers, their power had increased as well. By now, each one was as strong as an Eternal. Unfortunately, half-step Chaos was not a true realm. None of his other spells saw much improvement. Only once he truly stepped into the Chaos realm would his techniques undergo a massive transformation. Chaos Seed had said as much, that he'd help merge Lin Moyu's arts again, and he'd spent all these years in the Chaos continuing to absorb power. This final battle would be his last before breaking through to the Chaos realm. He could not afford to lose. If he lost, the 5 domains could be destroyed. Lin Moyu was confident, but only hoped that if the Palace Master went down fighting, the damage to the domain could be minimized. The soulless beast escorted Lin Moyu to the deepest part of the beast abyss, with only a single wall separating them from the Palace Master's true body. By now, the Palace Master's power was surging. It was clear he was about to awaken. This being, who had created and shaped the 5-domain world, might now become its destroyer as well. Lin Moyu said to the soulless beast, "I'm leaving you the domain, minimize losses as much as possible." The soulless beast nodded. "Rest assured, I'll do my utmost." Lin Moyu gave a small nod. "It's time." He pressed a hand to the barrier. Through it, he could feel the awe-inspiring oppression radiated by the Palace Master. This pressure, belonging to a Chaos Realm powerhouse, was enough to make all the Eternals bow their heads. He drew another deep breath, then activated the array he had set up. Boom! The barrier burst open and the formation Lin Moyu had placed erupted, shattering the barrier and transforming into a massive vortex, forcibly pulling the Palace Master toward it. The vortex was linked to the teleportation subarray, which would send the Palace Master directly outside the domain. With the barrier gone, Lin Moyu faced the true might of Chaos Realm oppression, which swept forth like a tempest, roaring through the entire beast abyss and into the virtual world. The shockwave even broke through the boundary between real and illusory, flooding into the real world and into the origin ancestral land. Every Tao Lord and above felt the astonishing force, their souls all trembling. It was the primal fear provoked by a truly formidable being. So powerful. Lin Moyu realized he might have underestimated how scary a Chaos Realm Master could be. The sheer pressure alone was terrifying. But now, with the arrow notched, he had no recourse. The vortex's suction was greatly weakened by the backlash of that pressure. The Palace Master's body was being sucked away, but very slowly. With the external provocation, the Palace Master's revival accelerated. He snapped open his eyes and fixed a deathly stare on Lin Moyu. "Who are you?" Your daddy, Lin Moyu retorted, hurling out the Ferry of Tribulation and leaping in, becoming a stream of light that shot straight at the Palace Master. Chapter 4269. I think so too. The Ferry of Tribulation traced a graceful arc, slamming hard into the fifth-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master. The Palace Master had not fully awakened yet, so the fierce collision sent him uncontrollably flying toward the vortex. Because of this strike, his awakening accelerated. He shuddered, his whole body trembling as he slowly rose to his feet. The Ferry of Tribulation curved again, transformed into a streak of light, and crashed into him once more. The Palace Master roared, hurling a fist to meet the ferry head-on. With a thunderous boom, the ferry was blasted away, but it remained completely unscathed, merely knocked back. The Ferry of Tribulation had once belonged to the Catastrophic Supreme. It survived facing the Tao itself, and its defensive power was unimaginable. While not entirely transcending chaos like the Catastrophic Scepter, it was still among the best artifacts within the rules. Its defense was formidable, though its offensive power insufficient. In a direct clash, it only made the Palace Master stagger back a little. At this moment, the Palace Master was still 10,000 meters from the vortex. The immense suction acted like countless hands dragging him toward it. He didn't know what was inside and instinctively resisted, refusing to be drawn in. Lin Moyu swooped the ferry in again and again for more collisions, simultaneously using the array to greatly increase the vortex's suction. This was the first step of the whole plan. The Palace Master had to be drawn in the battlefield, absolutely could not be within the domain. Since he wasn't fully awakened and his powers were not yet unified, this was the sole opportunity. Over and over the ferry crashed, getting knocked away, but each time the Palace Master was pushed back closer to the vortex. 8,000 meters, 6,000 meters. With every moment, the Palace Master's revival became more complete, his power surging and the ferry's effect weakening. The soulless beast appeared, roaring rule power formed into blades that targeted the Palace Master. These blades didn't cut him directly, but severed the tiny threads on his back that linked him to the domain core. The Palace Master roared in anger, batting at the blades. Those threads were the source of his strength. For countless years, he would not allow them to be damaged. The soulless beast kept roaring, conjuring 1,000 more blades. The Palace Master, now distracted, crushed all the blades. It was a classic feint while his focus was broken. Lin Moyu drove the ferry as hard as possible into him, the vessel swelling in size and ramming into the Palace Master once more. He tumbled back 1,000 meters, slapped the ferry away, but just then a mountain and river manifested. With a mighty shout, Fatty charged and slammed the full weight of the entire region squarely against him. The Palace Master was slammed back another 1,000 meters now, just 2,000 meters from the vortex. He roared over and over, "Who are you?" Lin Moyu stayed silent, directing the ferry to swoop in yet again. The Palace Master slammed both fists together, sending out a terrifying shockwave that flung the ferry away, hardly possible to approach. Inside the ferry, Lin Moyu tapped his fingers. Beside him, the Space Tao spirit waved her small hand, opening a spatial tunnel. The tunnel, anchored inside the vortex, was already prepared. Scores of world tree branches shot out from the vortex, weaving a net to grab the Palace Master. On the world tree, a vast army of undead minions appeared, as Lin Moyu's body radiated an unusual aura. Chaos technique, strong soldiers, all undead minions surged a realm higher to eternal peak, on the verge of half-step chaos. Together, the undead seized the branches, yanking hard, dragging the Palace Master closer and closer to the vortex. Now just 1,000 meters remained. The Palace Master smashed his fists together, power blasting out, shearing branches left and right. Once again, Lin Moyu drove the ferry at him. The Palace Master slapped it away. But behind it came Fatty, carrying a full mountain and ramming the Palace Master straight on. He was thrown back another 500 meters, now only moments from the vortex. With a roar, he smashed Fatty away. She screamed, flying backward, her body covered in cracks, severely wounded. Lin Moyu swept her into the ferry with a flick, then sent the ferry crashing forward the last 500 meters. Just one more hit would do it. The Palace Master raised his palm to block, determined not to cross into the vortex. Lin Moyu pointed. Corpse explosion! A corpse of the ancient tree king turned to dust. The palace master was violently jolted as his chest exploded. The blast force was immense, not enough to harm the palace master, but enough to stagger and deform his stance. His palm missed the fairy, which, in a flash, slammed into his body. Roaring in retreat, he finally brushed the vortex, and the immense suction drew him inside. Angry bellows echoed from the vortex. He was clearly furious, but powerless. He had just awoken, his power still unintegrated. He could only muster 30 or 40% of his true ability. In this state, Lin Moyu's scheming had dragged him in. Immediately, the teleportation array linked to the vortex activated, yanking the palace master away by brute force. Lin Moyu exhaled inside the fairy. Finally, he's in. He sent a message to the soulless beast. You're in charge of the domain now. The soulless beast replied, Master, be careful. Lin Moyu nodded, left the fairy, and entered the teleportation array. Now the true battle would begin. After a lengthy transmission, Lin Moyu crossed the boundaries of reality and illusion, emerging outside the domain. The moment he left the array, Lin Moyu retreated rapidly to put distance between himself and the palace master. With a thought, he shattered the teleportation array, cutting off the palace master's road back and severing his own retreat as well. This fight he could only win, never lose. The Sky Dome War Array roared to life, making the world seem encased in thousand-fold armor. Vortices whirled within the formation, endlessly absorbing force from the domain. This was the array's power source and the basis of Lin Moyu's confidence in withstanding the palace master's blows. After the repeated beating and the transmitted passage between realities, the palace master finally snapped awake. His true form, 10,000 meters tall, loomed outside the domain, glaring down at Lin Moyu. Who are you? Why have you attacked me? Lin Moyu replied, You still don't get it? The palace master genuinely had no clue, but that didn't matter. He growled, I sense the core domain's aura on you. You've been there, haven't you? You want to become domain lord. Lin Moyu grinned. Smart. And what do you think about that? To become domain lord, he would have to get past the palace master. The palace master was not domain lord, but saw the domain as his alone. He would never tolerate anyone else holding that position. So to become domain lord was to destroy him in irreconcilable battle. The palace master muttered, In that case, I'll kill you. Lin Moyu smiled wider. Funny, that's exactly what I was thinking. Chapter 4270, Give Him a Chance. Because of Lin Moyu's path, there was no possibility of compromise between them. Only one could remain. The fifth generation, Heavenly Void Palace Master roared, slapping his giant palm at Lin Moyu. Gather power, Lin Moyu shouted inwardly. His aura soared, instantly breaking through half-step chaos to fully enter the chaos realm. Before, whenever he entered the chaos realm, he could only last a second before dying. But now it was different. His soul and body had both undergone preliminary chaotification. Their strength had greatly increased. After entering the chaos realm, both his body and soul could withstand it. Great Tao world-ending palm. Lin Moyu struck back as well, not retreating in the slightest. Two chaos realm forces clashed, a massive shockwave tearing through billions of li of space around them. The Sky Dome War Array activated, forming massive shields outside the domain, blocking all the waves. Their attacks were deadlocked for a full second before dissipating, evenly matched. The fifth palace master took a step forward, appearing in front of Lin Moyu as if by teleportation. His immense form towered above Lin Moyu, who was as small as an ant before him. With a press of his palm, a phantom of the entire five-domain world appeared in the void. This palm carried the weight of the entire domain. Its terror was indescribable. Fatty had once wielded the weight of all the mountains and rivers of a domain, but that was nothing compared to this strike. Lin Moyu tried to respond again with the Great Tao world-ending palm, but this time its power was inferior to before. I can't mobilize the power of the Great Tao. The world-ending palm was a spell that fused power from the Great Tao, but now that power seemed sealed away. Lin Moyu instantly realized the palace master was suppressing the Tao force. The five-domain world was his creation, and his ability to interfere with the domain was even stronger than the soulless beasts. The world-ending palm's force plummeted. Without hesitating, Lin Moyu dove into the Ferry of Tribulation. The Palace Master's palm landed heavily on the ferry, sending it flying into the Sky Dome war array, which in turn bounced it away. The situation looked dire, but the ferry was utterly unharmed. Lin Moyu, hidden inside, felt nearly invincible. But he knew this sense of safety wouldn't last long. If you hide too long, you'll lose. The ferry could only buy him temporary safety. With a thought, space twisted in the void, and countless undead minions charged forth. His strong soldier's technique was still in effect. The minions' combat power approached half-step chaos, and their numbers had reached the tens of trillions. Ants! The Palace Master didn't care at all for these minions. With a cold snort, he swept his hand. Chaos realm energy erupted. Millions of minions died in an instant. They were shredded by formless power, but revived a second later. The Palace Master kept swatting, instantly killing billions more. But again, they poured in even greater numbers. Billions upon billions of attacks blazed through the void. The undead formed war arrays, combining powers to reach half-step chaos level. Lin Moyu emerged from the ferry, snorted coldly. Enough ants can kill an elephant. Minion after minion threw themselves in, fearlessly sacrificing themselves, besieging the Palace Master. Lin Moyu watched aside. He knew the minions alone couldn't kill the Palace Master. But through this, he could learn much. As the undead minions surrounded him, the Palace Master roared from the battlefield's center. No matter how many ants, they're still ants. I am not the elephant. I am the true being among the 9 extremes. Heaven, earth, creation. A seed appeared in the void. As if the dawn of creation, the domain seed exploded, spawning new realms, countless worlds rising and perishing within. As the domain evolved, a terrifying force shredded half the minions on the spot. If there had been fewer, they would have been wiped out. Before the rest revived, the Palace Master lunged toward Lin Moyu. In his eyes, Lin Moyu was the true culprit. Killing him would end the battle. He was unimaginably fast, appearing before Lin Moyu in an instant. Lin Moyu ducked again into the ferry, which drew an arc to evade. The Palace Master roared and clawed, summoning domain force from all directions to pin the ferry in place. Wings of time, curse! Twin wings unfurled, shaking fiercely, space-time twisted into chaos. The forces binding the ferry beginning to loosen. The Sky Dome war array boomed, unleashing endless might, helping Lin Moyu tear apart space-time. With that, the ferry escaped and streaked far off. The Sky Dome formation wasn't just defense. It was immensely powerful, otherwise Lin Moyu wouldn't have spent so long on its construction. The array had 10 interlocking layers. Unless you pierced all 10 at once, the formation would hold. Minions surged back in, chasing the Palace Master before he could be surrounded. Lin Moyu flicked a finger. Absorb! Boom! The array's vortices spun wildly, unleashing terrifying suction that grabbed the Palace Master and drastically slowed him. The undead seized the chance to encircle him again, launching another furious barrage. The Palace Master was completely flustered, momentarily unable to respond. Lin Moyu's strength wasn't especially high, not as strong as the Palace Master's, but his array of weird methods was overwhelming. Pure force alone couldn't break through this chaotic tide. The Palace Master knew formations and instantly recognized the Sky Dome war array's strength. So instead of tackling it directly, he focused all his efforts on hunting Lin Moyu. But with all the interference, he was failing to do even that. Wave after wave of attacks killed undead, as the Palace Master kept searching for an opening. But as he studied the enemy, Lin Moyu was studying him right back. Eventually, Lin Moyu noticed a problem. While the Palace Master was Chaos Realm and fully chaotified, he wasn't summoning much Chaos Chi in his attacks. Chaos Chi was typically the ultimate killing tool against non-chaotified beings. It was more lethal than nearly any magic. If the Palace Master could use Chaos Chi at will, he'd already wiped out every undead in an instant. But he wasn't. The Chaos Chi he drew on was pitifully little, hardly enough for major attacks. Lin Moyu soon figured out why. Although the Palace Master was Chaos Realm and fully chaotified, he was far too special. As the domain's creator, he'd drawn upon massive Chaos Chi during its evolution to forge the world. That process consumed most of his Chaos Chi, and once the evolution was complete, He could never stray too far from the domain, and thus couldn't absorb more. So his stores of chaos chi now were limited. If he used it, it had to be for something critical. Probably saving it to kill me. Chaos chi isn't just for offense. He might use it for defense too. If so, that'll be a problem for me. That means I need to lure him into using his chaos chi. Lin Moyu saw that the palace master too was just waiting for an opening to finish him in one blow, so Lin Moyu decided to give him the chance. Chapter 4271. Acting. The undead minions cycled through life and death endlessly. Because their numbers were so vast, even after prolonged battle, there was barely any visible decrease. The undead acted with their own tactics, coordinating seamlessly. Those who died retreated, survivors stepped forward, and they never exhausted their resurrection count. Lin Moyu was scheming. The fifth-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master was also waiting for his chance. As the slaughter wore on, some undead minions, once destroyed, no longer revived. Their overall numbers began to decrease slowly. This phenomenon was immediately noticed by the Palace Master. He roared furiously, intensified his assault, and with each strike shattered vast tracts of void outside the domain. Space torn asunder by the shockwaves. Every blow killed tens of millions of undead. There was a realm gap between Eternal and Chaos Realm. Pure numbers could no longer compensate. Under the Palace Master's onslaught, the minions' losses accelerated. At last, he blasted open a breach, and Lin Moyu appeared in plain sight. In the reflection of his massive, cruel eyes, Lin Moyu standing atop the Ferry of Tribulation was clearly visible. There was obviously panic and disbelief on Lin Moyu's face, as if stunned by how swiftly his undead were faltering. Ants will always be ants. The Palace Master sneered, his form flashing as he charged to kill Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's expression grew even more frantic. He immediately shrank back into the ferry. The Palace Master sneered, "Even hiding in that ferry won't save you." Lin Moyu remained silent, piloting the ferry to retreat while the Sky Dome war array kept pulling the Palace Master back with immense suction. "It's useless, you don't understand true power of the Chaos Realm." He sneered, and a layer of hazy mist, the legendary Chaos Chi, finally appeared around his body. In that instant, the suction effect of the Sky Dome array was greatly diminished, and the Palace Master's speed shot up. In an instant, he nearly overtook the ferry. With a massive grasp, innumerable giant hands formed from every direction and firmly seized the Ferry of Tribulation. Lin Moyu beat his wings, trying to disturb space-time, but it barely worked. The space-time was now streaked with tendrils of chaos ki, neutralizing Lin Moyu's techniques. The Ferry of Tribulation was now flooded with chaos chi that seeped and bored its way inside. In an icy tone, the Palace Master said, "I don't know how you got the Ferry of Tribulation from Kunlun, but you cannot truly control it. Its defenses may be mighty, but it cannot block chaos chi, and you won't withstand my chaos chi's attack. Even if you've managed half chaotification, how long do you think you can last in my chaos chi?" His words dripped with murderous intent. Indeed, the ferry did not block the chaos chi, not because it was incapable, but because Lin Moyu had yet to become its true master. He was only a user. The Palace Master had studied the ferry and knew its weaknesses. It wasn't a flaw of the ferry, but of Lin Moyu. Chaos chi surged in. Lin Moyu had nowhere to hide inside the ferry. Escaping would mean instant death. Undead minions pursued, attacking the Palace Master's body, but even with such force of numbers, the Chaos Chi armored him, stopping almost all attacks. Inside the ferry, Lin Moyu saw the Chaos Chi flowing in. He could distinctly sense the Palace Master's will within that Chi. That Chaos Chi had been refined by the Palace Master, becoming a weapon completely under his command. Finally, the ferry was saturated in Chaos Chi, enveloping Lin Moyu completely. He could feel the Chaos Chi gnawing at him, but the process was very slow. The invasion would take at least 100 years to finish. Suddenly, the Palace Master burst into uproarious laughter. "Found you burn!" The Chaos Chi abruptly turned to flames, and Lin Moyu, as the fuel, was surrounded by fire. Soul fire? Lin Moyu, while engulfed in flame, remained calm. He even took the time to study the flame's structure. The Chaos Chi concealed a strand of the Palace Master's soul. The fire was ignited by this. Strictly speaking, It was the Palace Master's soul fire. Having a Chaos Realm soul fire burn you is indeed a terrible threat. For an ordinary half-step Chaos cultivator, their soul would burn away an extremely perilous fate. But Lin Moyu, having undergone 10 rounds of Tao sublimation, had toughened soul and body through endless cycles of tempering. Even though most of his power was sealed, the true substance of his soul and body was little inferior to Chaos Realm. Thus the Palace Master's soul fire could wound him, but the effect was minimal. Give it a few hundred years and maybe he'd be burnt to death. Then, with his rebirth talent, he could start fresh and be burned again for another few hundred years. See the most exciting novels on Falu. But now he couldn't be so casual. He had purposely shown weakness to lure out the Chaos Chi, planning to exhaust it completely. Within the fire, Lin Moyu put on a look of agony, groaning and pretending to hold on with gritted teeth. The Palace Master couldn't see Lin Moyu's exact condition, but through their soul connection, he could partially feel it. "Take your time. I'll burn you to death bit by bit," the Palace Master said icily, a faintly cruel laugh under his tone. Lin Moyu fired back. "This little flame isn't even enough to keep me warm. What's wrong? Spent too long sleeping, and now you're weak?" Face darkening, the Palace Master poured in more Chaos Chi and soul fire. "Let's see how long you can keep boasting." The fire surged more fiercely. Lin Moyu acted ever more agonized, but still jeered. "That all you got? Pathetic, useless." To call a Chaos Realm Master a creator of an entire domain a useless waste was the worst insult. With a chilling smile, the Palace Master said, "Fine, I'll make you enjoy it." More Chaos Chi now poured in, fanning the flames even further. But Lin Moyu was not just enduring, he was also countering. Wings of Time Curse kept flapping, shaking up space-time, and along with the Sky Dome War Array, creating the illusion that he might break free. To prevent Lin Moyu escaping, the Palace Master was forced to expend even more Chaos Chi. Meanwhile, the undead continued their relentless assault, forcing him to call upon Chaos Chi for defense. He even created a clone to fight them, but the minions ignored it and attacked his true body only. They scattered and regrouped, making them impossible to kill, off in one blow. All these moves kept draining his Chaos Chi. Lin Moyu gambled that the Palace Master's stockpile of Chaos Chi was not limitless. Once he lost his versatile Chaos Chi offensively and defensively, Lin Moyu's battle would get a lot easier. The Palace Master burned him for 9 days straight, sensing Lin Moyu's soul was nearly destroyed, on the point of death. He raised the flames even more, and after another day of burning, Lin Moyu's soul finally hit its limit. "Die!" the Palace Master shouted with wild laughter. And right then, Lin Moyu's soul shattered with a bang. A flash of purple light, and the Palace Master's laughter was abruptly cut short. Chapter 4272. Looks like I'm dying again. After being burned for a full 10 days, Lin Moyu, apparently burnt to death, suddenly revived, as lively as ever. Once resurrected, Lin Moyu shouted loudly, "Trash is always trash. Even at the Chaos Realm, you're a waste. With your pathetic skills, you dream of transcendence. If someone like you could do it, the chaos would be packed wall to wall with Heaven-Earth Supremes." Lin Moyu continued using relentless insults to provoke the 5th-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master. Over those 10 days, this happened again and again. Lin Moyu had found his opponent's soft spot. The Heavenly Void Palace Master, who from birth carried the mission of evolving the domain, had never met another Chaos Realm cultivator. Deep down, he was resentful and full of inferiority. His power wasn't earned through cultivation, but was something naturally given by the Heavenly Void Palace itself. He'd never experienced the cultivator's climb to the heavens, never gained wisdom through hardship. Born strong, yet essentially ignorant, he could evolve a domain, but knew nothing of true emotion. He was confident he could break free of the domain's bounds, but at the same time did not dare to cross certain lines set by even greater beings. He knew there were stronger forces outside the domain, so all he did was hide, scheming and waiting for his chance. The result was ever-increasing weakness and sensitivity inside. Luckily, he possessed no concept of Tao. Heart, had he been the usual cultivator, his Tao heart would have long since shattered. But therein lay the problem. Lacking a Tao heart, he was easily influenced. His emotional swings were violent and extreme. Once Lin Moyu saw this, he began purposefully stirring that instability, again and again, pushing his opponent dangerously close to complete loss of control. 10 days of burning. Whenever the palace master thought Lin Moyu was finally incinerated, Lin Moyu would pop back to life, even crueler with his words. The palace master's greatest obsession was breaking free from the domain of fixation bordering on madness. But Lin Moyu kept telling him that if someone like him could break free, then the whole chaos would be overflowing with supremes. In his ears, that was the most brutal humiliation. Die. The palace master's voice was no longer cold, but crazed. Even vaster chaos chi poured into the Ferry of Tribulation, and the avatar he created also wielded chaos ki, souring the void with overwhelming power. The consumption of chaos ki greatly increased. The soul flames burned ever hotter, and Lin Moyu flawlessly performed his suffering, pitching in well-timed verbal barbs. Lin Moyu noticed, apart from his unmatched talent with divine runes and formations, it turned out he had a pretty vicious tongue too. Thinking over the ages, he wondered if the catastrophic supreme had also been a master of insults. Maybe, but maybe not. He is him, and I am me, two different lives. Lin Moyu wiped away the shadow of the catastrophic supreme from his own Tao heart. He was not the supreme at most, an heir to the supreme's will. After the palace master unleashed even fiercer flames and burned Lin Moyu for 5 more days, his soul was again on the verge of shattering. "Now die, die!" roared the palace master, and obligingly Lin Moyu's soul crumbled yet again. But before the palace master even had half a second to gloat, Lin Moyu was revived, perfectly intact. Freshly living once more, Lin Moyu snapped, "Waste! I look down on you. Can't even burn a half-step chaos to death freaking trash. Have you lived so many years just to be outdone by a dog? No, you're not even as good as a dog. A dog bites, at least it's got some fight. You just, heh." This round of insults was even more brutal. The palace master, even more aggravated, erupted in flames himself, turning into a man of fire. Chaos chi rolled massively, wildly pouring into the ferry. Bastard, bastard. Despite all these years of life, it was clear the palace master had never learned to curse properly. He could only repeat those same few lines. Lin Moyu was again burned, and while roasting, continued to hurl verbal abuse, further provoking him at every turn. At this stage, the palace master seemed to lose all sense, burning chaos chi with reckless abandon. Lin Moyu could feel the palace master's chaos chi depleting. At first, even the avatar could manipulate chaos chi to slaughter the undead minions, but now the avatars had run out of chaos chi to use. The chaos chi sealing off the ferry was waning, the prison loosening. Lin Moyu could have escaped at this point if he'd wanted. The palace master had spent all remaining chaos chi burning Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu, feigning ignorance, didn't flee playing along to bait out every bit of chaos chi. Thus another 3 days passed. Lin Moyu's soul once again approaching death. The palace master said, "This time you are dead for sure, right?" He seemed less certain now. His chaos chi was almost exhausted, and he'd become calmer these last few days, since Lin Moyu's provocations had slackened. Lin Moyu replied with a sigh, "Yeah, looks like I'm dying again." As soon as he spoke, his soul shattered. Yet, just like before, it reformed in a flash of purple light. See the most exciting novels on Falu. With this, Lin Moyu showed the palace master the first 2 times he hadn't been killed, but had simply broken his soul on purpose. It was all an act. Now he was done acting. The palace master, now used to Lin Moyu's revivals, was no longer shocked as before. At last, he realized he hadn't actually killed Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu grinned and, "Want to keep burning?" The palace master tried to keep his cool, though his tone stayed fierce. "With that ferry, I can't do anything to you. But you can't stay aboard forever. Even if I can't kill you, I can trap you." Lin Moyu laughed. "That's where you're wrong. You can't trap me." He unfurled the wings of time curse. Space-time quivered, but the palace master manipulated the domain's time-space, smoothing out disorder. "It's useless. You can't maneuver any Daos inside the domain." Lin Moyu laughed. "Who said I was trying to use the domain's Daos?" A shadow of the vast world loomed up beside the five-domain world. Lin Moyu had the vast world too. He was master of the vast world. Wielding its power was far easier for him than using the five-domain worlds. Now, the vast world was not much weaker than the five-domain world. Lin Moyu directly projected it, summoning domain power from it to shatter the void. Space-time disintegrated in layers. Before the palace master's stunned eyes, the fairy vanished into shattered emptiness and escaped its prison. A split second later, the fairy reappeared tens of thousands of li away, Lin Moyu's voice echoing, "I told you, you can't trap me." The palace master, voice low and emotion matching, responded, "You actually possess a domain. How did you do it?" Lin Moyu now stood atop the fairy once more and shook his head. "There are things you'll never understand. You've done enough burning, enough fighting. Now it's my turn." Great Tao world-ending palm. With a sudden surge of energy, Lin Moyu fully entered the chaos realm again, unleashing the palm. This time he used the great Tao of his vast world. This world-ending palm was even mightier than before. The palace master threw a punch. With a deafening blast, he was thrown back 10,000 li, while Lin Moyu on the ferry was also blasted tens of thousands of li away. In pure power, the palace master was still about 30% stronger. But by now, the strength gap hardly mattered. 3 points difference could not decide the outcome. And Lin Moyu felt his odds of victory were now 90%. Activate the formation. With a thought, the Sky Dome array went fully online. Chapter 4273, the time has come. The Sky Dome War Array was the result of Lin Moyu's painstaking work. Its core nature was defense, and this was its greatest strength. But beyond defense, it also served two other major functions: control and offense. While its control and offensive capabilities couldn't compare to its defense, they were by no means weak. Lin Moyu put everything he had learned in his life into this titanic formation, which covered the entire domain, empowered by the force of 10 domains. Earlier, only part of the Sky Dome Array's power had been activated, but now it was about to be displayed in its entirety. A terrifying aura erupted from the array. 10 layers of formations lit up one after another, shining brightly and illuminating a vast swath of the void, making the five-domain world a radiant star in the chaos between void and chaos. Atop the formation, a giant figure appeared, left hand holding a shield, right hand gripping a blade. Clad in heavy armor, the very picture of a fearless battle king charging to the front lines. The presence radiating from the war giant was startling, every bit as powerful as the fifth-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master. Faced with such might, the Palace Master was actually calmed. "I hadn't expected your mastery of formations to reach such a level. But unfortunately, your array draws on the domain force. And that domain Huh? How could this be?" A look of surprise crossed his face. Moments ago, he could freely manipulate the domain force. Now it seemed detached from him, his control drastically weakened. Lin Moyu grinned. "You want to say the domain force is yours to command, and my array's advantage is meaningless since you can just cut me off, right?" Lin Moyu had seen through his intentions. The Palace Master was right about the theory. If the domain force was cut off, the array would be useless. But he soon realized he couldn't control the domain force anymore. Lin Moyu smiled lightly. "Take your time thinking about it, you might figure it out eventually." The real reason was clear to Lin Moyu alone. The soulless beast, as rule manager, held some authority over the domain force. Moreover, Lin Moyu possessed the core divine runes in the domain core. Before, he hadn't managed these runes directly, but now, with the array fully awakened, he took charge of the divine runes himself, cutting their connection with the Palace Master. Naturally, the Palace Master was no longer able to drive the domain force as before, but Lin Moyu had left the vortices behind the divine runes untouched, so the domain's core couldn't immediately pinpoint the problem. Lin Moyu didn't care to explain more. The more puzzled his foe, the better. The war array giant was already charging the Palace Master, each stride covering tens of thousands of li, as if teleporting. In a blink, it appeared before the Palace Master and brought its blade down. The Palace Master snorted, manifesting a battle blade of his own, and struck. Bang! The war array giant shuddered slightly, its blade shattering, But the palace master was blasted back too, his own blade breaking as well. Shockwaves of their collision swept in all directions. The war array giant raised its massive shield. Suppress! A huge suppress character appeared on the shield as the Sky Domi array activated, spawning countless shields, each bearing the suppress symbol to intercept all the force flying out. The intercepted power rapidly gathered at the center, then launched as a single sharp arrow at the palace master. The process finished in less than 0.01 seconds. The palace master hadn't regained his footing when an arrow slammed toward him, carrying all the energy of his and the giant's earlier clash. Even that's possible? He had never seen such maneuvers. It was far beyond ordinary counterplay. The palace master instinctively tried to dodge, but inside the array, countless vortices spun madly. A powerful suction exploded forth, turning into a formless giant hand that gripped him tight. In the heart of the array, an enormous divine rune appeared, a giant character. Fix. This wasn't a normal divine rune, it already contained partial characteristics of chaos runes. In fact, the whole Skydome War array incorporated traits of chaos runes. Lin Moyu had woven his understanding of them into the formation, greatly enhancing its power. The palace master was immobilized, unable to escape, and had to take the incoming arrow head-on. "Chaos battle armor!" he roared, donning a suit of armor. The arrow crashed into the chaos armor and exploded, hurling the palace master away, though unharmed and the armor unbroken. Lin Moyu frowned. He could see the armor was forged after complete chaotification and armor refined from chaos chi, with astonishing defense. The main reason Chaos Realm experts could roam the chaos. There were many chaotic life forms born in chaos itself, but most lacked chaos armor, and thus were weaker than cultivators of equal rank. Chaos battle armor was a marker of true Chaos Realm mastery, unmatched defense, but at a great energy cost. Within chaos, replenishing chaos chi was easy, but here every bit used was a bit lost forever. The palace master roared in frustration. "You've forced me to this for thrilling novels. Just go to Falu." Lin Moyu sneered, flicking his finger as the war array giant attacked again, manifesting another battle blade. The palace master extended his hand. A massive sword appeared, sword and armor born of the same source, both overflowing with chaos chi. Lin Moyu didn't flinch. If you had chaos armor, you definitely have chaos battle gear too. Sword gleamed. The war giant's blade shattered. The giant raised its shield in defense, the suppress rune glowing. Boom, the shield was shattered as well. Sword light cut the void, nearly severing the war giant in two. Chaos weapons were simply too powerful. The giant was no match. The palace master tried to pursue and finish the job, but the fix rune in the formation flared, binding him again. He struck back with a sword, shaking the formation with a violent tremor, splitting it with large cracks. He pierced 7 layers of the Sky Dome array with one sword, but the formation had 10 in all. As long as all 10 didn't break at once, it could repair. Lin Moyu flicked his fingers, divine runes firing rapidly. The Sky Dome array ran on, spawning more war array giants. Each layer produced a giant 10 in total, surrounding the palace master. A multitude of shields materialized, pounding at him in unison. Meanwhile, the undead minions attacked from all sides in a saturation assault, instantly engulfing him. Chaos armor and chaos weapons were mighty, but consumed monstrous energy. Sword light flashed, reaping swaths of undead. Earlier, Lin Moyu had feigned weakness to trick the palace master into using up chaos chi, making it look as if the undead were perishing en masse. In truth, he'd simply withdrawn most, and few had actually died. Now the undead attacked again, and no matter how many fell, none withdrew. The giants too pressed the attack, submerged the palace master in offense. Despite his armor, the palace master raged and countered madly. Battle array giants fell, undead perished in droves. He slaughtered at a crazy pace, howling furiously like a wild beast. Lin Moyu's heart stirred. The chance is here. A thought, and in front of him, the void shattered. The world tree pierced through reality and illusion, unleashing endless branches, thick roots drawn from chaos, woven together into a colossal tree. Chapter 4274, Mutual Destruction. The World Tree used its own roots and branches to form a tree warrior. Its combat power was slightly weaker than that of the War Array Giants, topping out at half-step Chaos Realm. However, it could channel the vast world's power-borrowing domain force from the vast world, allowing its strike force to rival the War Array Giants. Most importantly, Lin Moyu had handed the Catastrophic Scepter to the World Tree. The Catastrophic Scepter wasn't an item just anyone could wield. The World Tree was among the rare few capable of using it. The World Tree was Lin Moyu's innate divine tree, essentially an extension of himself, so with his permission, there was no issue in wielding the Catastrophic Scepter, the 5th generation. Heavenly Void Palace Master, locked in battle and surrounded, had no idea what was happening outside his battlefield. Because of the Sky Dome War Array, he could not break out of the encirclement quickly and was forced to fight against the formation itself. In that moment, the World Tree swung the Catastrophic Scepter. The simplest use of the Catastrophic Scepter was one word: smash. No technique or flourish, just a direct, crushing blow. Amidst the encirclement, the Palace Master suddenly saw the enormous Catastrophic Scepter descending, shattering the firmament and suppressing all doubts as it came down straight at his head. He roared, raising his Chaos War weapon to meet it. In his mind, his Chaos Battle Blade was unrivaled within the domain. No matter what artifact was used, he could shatter it. Unfortunately for him, he was wrong. Just like smashing tofu, the Catastrophic Scepter utterly obliterated his Chaos Blade. Impossible! With that cry, the Catastrophic Scepter smashed down on him. His Chaos armor first caved in, then exploded with a bang. A scream rang out as the Palace Master was shattered into pieces, flying in all directions. The World Tree swept the scepter back, while Lin Moyu's offensive didn't relent. Erase them! The undead minions and War Array Giants struck together, grinding down the Palace Master's fragments. As a Chaos Realm powerhouse, he couldn't be killed so easily. The scepter had only smashed him apart, not ended him. Covered in faint light, each fragment sprouted countless threads that wove into flesh and reassembled into tens of thousands of miniature Palace Masters. These tiny versions tore into the undead army, small yet strong, ripping countless holes in their ranks in moments. As expected, not easy to kill. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised this was still a Chaos Realm Master, hardly an easy foe to finish. Using the opportunity from the Catastrophic Scepter's blow, the Palace Master split himself apart and broke through the encirclement of undead and formations, instantly teleporting through the void to appear before Lin Moyu, reversing the situation to trap Lin Moyu instead. The miniatures all exploded into filaments again, aiming to bore into the Fairy of Tribulation. He was targeting the Fairy's only weakness, getting inside to kill Lin Moyu personally. Lin Moyu snorted coldly, and a brilliant light burst forth. Bathed in the light, the Palace Master was forced back into his original form, his fine threads coalescing into his full body once again. On the Catastrophic Scepter, the soul gem glittered. The light just now had been a soul attack. When the Palace Master split apart, his soul also fractured and weakened, unable to block the soul gem's strike. With a grave expression, he stared at the Fairy of Tribulation, shock in his eyes. What kind of artifact is that? His soul had been wounded in that exchange. Anything that could directly harm his soul was no common item. Lin Moyu smiled faintly. Doesn't matter what artifact it is, if it can kill you, it's a good one. With a thought, he unleashed the soul gem's power again, slamming another soul shock into the Palace Master, eliciting another grunt. Over the years, Lin Moyu had studied the core formation of the Catastrophic Scepter and gained some insights, learning partial uses of several gems. Though still only scratching the surface, it already had significant utility. For example, he could use the soul gem for soul shocks, devastating to same realm opponents, and even harmful to those a realm higher. Now, against the Palace Master, the results were satisfying. Even he could not withstand it. The World Tree held the scepter and kept triggering the soul gem, bombarding the Palace Master's soul. Forced to endure one shock after another, the Palace Master was visibly suffering. Powerful as he was, he had no answer to this straightforward but brutal style of attack. You just wait, I won't spare you. He was angry, growling low, but there was helplessness in his tone. In truth, he had lost this battle, completely suppressed by Lin Moyu. Continuing was pointless. Since he couldn't do anything to Lin Moyu right now, it was better to retreat and find another chance later. As long as he lived, Lin Moyu could forget about becoming Domain Lord. Lin Moyu snorted. You want to leave? Dream on. The element gem thrummed to life, flaring brightly, silencing the void, scattering all elemental forces. The great Tao vanished. The palace master suddenly felt his body sink, all power draining away. And not just him, every part of the area bathed by the element gem's light was the same. Without the great Tao, he could only move on his base physical strength, his speed drastically slower. The sky dome war array struck as well, the fix rune flashing. Even with the great Tao expelled, the rune still worked somewhat. The palace master was held again. He tried to flee, but his speed was now painfully slow. What is this? He cried out. Fear creeping in the catastrophic scepter's weirdness surpassed his imagination. The element gem didn't distinguish between friend and foe. Lin Moyu and the undead were affected too. But Lin Moyu had the vast world to draw strength from, though this power couldn't leave his body. The world tree likewise moved in, swinging the catastrophic scepter down. The palace master yelped and backed away. He didn't dare meet the scepter head-on after the previous encounter. He knew he couldn't take it. But the world tree gave him no room to dodge. Countless branches tangled forward, binding him. He tore them apart with his own strength, but more came endlessly, and his already reduced speed dropped further. In the end, he couldn't avoid the scepter. His body was smashed to pieces again. The fragments turned to miniatures, scattering in all directions. The soul gem flared again. A soul shock rippled out, forcibly reassembling him into his original form. When he split into miniatures, his soul also split, making him extremely vulnerable to the gem's strikes and at risk of serious injury or even death. Hounded by the world tree, the palace master was battered into a sorry state. Chaos chi exhausted, chaos armor shattered, tricks all but gone. Cornered, he roared, "Don't push me, or we'll die together." Lin Moyu snorted, "Die with me? You're not qualified." The world tree didn't slow. The palace master roared, "Then let's die together." Chapter 4275, An Unexpected Development. The Fifth Generation. Heavenly Void. Palace master was not one to hesitate. After enduring Lin Moyu's repeated verbal provocations and being suppressed and battered to such an extent, he had long since been pushed to his limit. In this moment, he exploded, completely determined to drag Lin Moyu into death alongside him. Lin Moyu, standing upon the ferry of tribulation, fixed his eyes on the palace master. A gleam of light shone deep within his gaze. What he was staring at was not the palace master's physical form, but rather the countless fine threads trailing behind it. These threads were formless and intangible, composed of the power of rules, and remained completely untouched amidst the battle's destruction. Each thread connected to the divine runes within the domain core, their far ends anchored to the vortices behind those runes. If he detonated these threads, the divine runes could be damaged. And once those divine runes were destroyed, the domain itself would collapse. Destroy enough divine runes and the domain core would shatter, taking the entire domain down with it. If the domain shattered, the palace master would die, and so would Lin Moyu. A strange aura surged from Lin Moyu's body. In his vision, these rule threads shimmered faintly as the palace master triggered their detonation. You really do mean what you say, huh? Lin Moyu's thoughts moved, and the catastrophic scepter vanished from the world tree's hands, appearing in his own. He raised the scepter high, both the domain gem and the balance gem flaring into brilliant light. Balance! Where the balance gem's light spread, the palace master's aura plummeted, and not only his aura but even his rule power diminished rapidly. The palace master cried in shock. What did you do? What are you doing? Lin Moyu chuckled lightly. Even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. The balance gem's radiance pierced the sky dome war array, spilling across the entire domain. This was Lin Moyu truly unleashing the gem's power, using the entire domain as a scale, balancing all disparities. Every living being in the domain saw the light. It was the glow from the balance gem. Some felt their auras surge, ordinary folks suddenly holding great power. Others felt theirs weaken, hard-earned strength ebbing away, drops in cultivation realm. Under the balance gem's shroud, Every force in the domain was equalizing. It wasn't only living beings, every great Tao and rule within the domain was affected. The power of the Taos rose and fell. The rules shifted likewise, subtly altering the world's entire framework. Most importantly, the Palace Master's own strength was dropping along with the rule power he commanded. Following the balance gem came the brilliance of the domain gem. Stabilize, Lin Moyu intoned in his heart. The domain gem's light shot directly into the domain core. The domain core instantly became solid and still, every divine rune within cloaked in a radiant sheen, their durability skyrocketing. At that moment, the vortices under the Palace Master's control erupted. The runes took the brunt of the vortex explosions those Lin Moyu had refined were untouched. The rest sustained heavy shock. Normally they would have been destroyed, but now they only cracked under the strain, none shattered. Once the domain's core runes broke, the entire domain would be thrown into chaos. The domain wouldn't collapse because Lin Moyu controlled the core, but severe damage was inevitable, perhaps unrecoverable for millions of years. And with so many worlds destroyed, all life inside them would be wiped out. In the beginning, Lin Moyu had been prepared for such destruction, but after grasping bits of the gem's powers, he devised another way. Using the balance gem, with the domain's infinite beings as the counterweight, he forcibly weakened the Palace Master's strength and his rule power. Thus, when the Palace Master tried to detonate the threads, the damage was greatly reduced. Then, wielding the domain gem, he stabilized the core and its divine runes, preventing their breakage. An impact was inevitable, but as long as the runes didn't break, the domain wouldn't be too badly harmed. And all this had to be timed exactly to the moment the Palace Master ignited the vortices. Lin Moyu had succeeded. The domain was only in some disarray, not deeply wounded. The Palace Master stood there dazed, muttering, "How? How can this be?" He couldn't believe his gambit had been foiled again. From the very start of the battle, he had been countered and calculated against by Lin Moyu. Even in moments where he thought himself on top, he was still within Lin Moyu's plans. He finally realized he had been in Lin Moyu's grasp from beginning to end. Lin Moyu smiled faintly. "Well, your mutual destruction trick's gone. Now you can die in peace, Ushiti." The Palace Master growled, "Who are you really? Why are you targeting me?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "At this point, do you really think asking serves any purpose?" His answer came in the form of more soul shocks. The catastrophic scepter was once again in the World Tree's grip, and the tree was already attacking. The Skydome War Array spun at full power, the fix rune locking the Palace Master in place, giving him no chance to flee. Undead minions and War Array giants swarmed in from all directions, surrounding him completely. No way up to heaven, no path down to earth. The Palace Master began to despair. The siege started anew. The Palace Master fought back in desperation, but his counterattacks were feeble, each one snuffed out. A mighty chaos from existence, step by step, was falling into death under Lin Moyu's designs. After dozens of days, the battle reached its conclusion. As the Palace Master's aura sank beneath the chaos realm, he gave one final plea. "I just want to die, knowing why." Lin Moyu sighed softly. "You should know you should have died long ago. Living until now was a fluke. Death was always your fate." The Palace Master suddenly seemed to understand. "So you've been to the Heavenly Void territory. But why didn't he tell me? Did something happen to him?" By him, he meant the Avatar in the Heavenly Void Palace. Lin Moyu said, "He just became what he was meant to become. You should know that from the moment you were born, your fate was fixed. Fighting fate isn't impossible, but it's incredibly hard. You failed. And failure means accepting the worst outcome. Honestly, you've already lived longer than the previous few before you. Too bad you never enjoyed living. You just slept. Power is important, but not enough alone. To escape fate, you needed to do far more, to prepare far more. You did nothing, and that's why you lost." Lin Moyu had said all that needed saying. Whether the Palace Master could comprehend it no longer mattered. If not, then let him die without understanding. The World Tree raised the catastrophic scepter again. In Lin Moyu's hand, the world-burning fire blazed to life, time to send him off. The Palace Master closed his eyes, as if accepting his fate. Lin Moyu remained wary he wouldn't relax until the man was utterly dead. The void trembled violently, a tentacle ripped through it, smashing into the Sky Dome war array. The entire domain shook. A terrifying how realm pressure descended, like a great hand pressing upon the domain. Halting all power and rule flows, even the eerie glow upon the catastrophic scepter dimmed. Chapter 4276. A dying man's words are kind. Countless tentacles tore through the void, slamming down on the Sky Dome war array, cracking it in many places. Fortunately, the array was there without it. The domain would have suffered calamity. Lin Moyu's brows furrowed. He knew who had come. It was the same creature that had injured the Lord of Fate earlier. The Lord of Fate had described endless whip shadows back then. He must have been mistaken. They weren't whips, but tentacles. It was a being from the chaos, not a cultivator. The undead minions reacted first, unleashing a saturating volley into the void. The war array giants raised their shields, countless gigantic barriers manifesting atop the Sky Dome array to block the assault. The enemy's attacks were fierce tentacles fell like rain. Undead were smashed to bits in droves. In terms of pure offense, this opponent was equal or superior to the 5th-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master, and more critically, every strike carried immense chaos chi. That chi became raging winds, killing all undead caught in their path. One wave hasn't died down before the next rises, Lin Moyu murmured, but let's send you off first. The sudden arrival of an enemy didn't change his mind. First, the Palace Master would die, then he'd deal with this lurking interloper. The Palace Master suddenly spoke. When I'm gone, guard the domain. The 5-domain world, after all, was his own creation. Despite his earlier disregard, there was attachment there. Lin Moyu replied, a dying man's words are kind. Don't worry with me. The domain will only grow stronger. The World Tree brought the catastrophic scepter smashing down the palace. Master was shattered to pieces, no longer reconstituting into smaller avatars. The world-burning fire flared, consuming the fragments. For it, this was a rare and valuable meal, not to be wasted. The Palace Master's soul faded within the flames. The one who had created the 5-domain world, after countless stolen years, could not escape his fate. The world-burning fire blazed hotter, empowered greatly by devouring a chaos realm soul. But Lin Moyu sensed that for the fire to truly evolve, it needed to burn a domain. Burning a domain would incur vast cause and effect. The thought alone was staggering. He thought of the cause-seeking ring. Perhaps it could circumvent karma, and the faith power of the infinite beings in his domain could offset the curses of slain life. His eyes turned to the void. There, battle raged hotly. The undead minions' attacks had failed to draw the foe out. Sweeping with Necromancer's eye, Lin Moyu glimpsed a soul flame burning fiercely millions of li away. No wonder nothing's been hit, he realized. The minions had been aiming at the wrong place altogether. The enemy was never there. With a thought, he redirected them. In the next instant, overwhelming attacks filled the void in that direction. Yet his frown deepened. Their volleys still struck the wrong area. The minions' target zone didn't match his orders. Abruptly, he understood those minions had Necromancer's eyes too, so they should see the enemy. The fact they didn't meant their perceptions were being altered. His commands, by the time they registered, were being shifted. In other words, their minds were being interfered with. Chaos winds blew everywhere outside the domain, scouring vast reaches of void. In them, the undead shattered and died, unable to resist. This is troublesome, Lin Moyu thought. The enemy kept its distance and he couldn't land a hit. At this rate, time would kill him. The Sky Dome array could not hold forever. One day it would break. For them to pierce the Soul Eater Spirit Emperor's defenses and arrive here, their goal must be the domain. If he couldn't pinpoint them, he'd get close. With a thought, Lin Moyu dove into the Ferry of Tribulation and surged ahead. Using the vessel, he could close in and then think of the next move. The World Tree came aboard too, still holding the catastrophic scepter, his greatest current asset. The ferry shot through space, crossing millions of li in a blink to reach the supposed location. But the soul flame he'd seen a moment before was gone, appearing somewhere else. He changed course again, but each time he neared, it shifted. After several repetitions, he knew something was wrong. The soul flame he saw wasn't real. His senses were under the enemy's sway as well. Chaos chi was seeping in through the fairy's weaknesses, turning into a breeze within. That wind, carrying incomprehensible energy, warped his sight, hearing, even his soul. Chaotic life forms were even trickier than he'd imagined, not just strong in offense, but possessed of maddening, insidious methods. The fairy returned to the Sky Dome array. Since he couldn't find the target, he'd force it out another way. Bone Hell wouldn't help against a Chaos Realm foe. The Chaos Chi nullified its locking ability. Now, the only way to flush it out was sheer saturation, a map-wide bombardment. With a thought, Lin Moyu unleashed every undead. 2 trillion minions attacked in all directions at once. Seas of fire, thunderclouds, tsunamis, storms of blades swept the void. Tens of millions of Li lay under indiscriminate assault. Lin Moyu watched, scanning for anomalies. With Necromancer's eye compromised, only his human eyes were trustworthy. At last, one area showed something off. Attacks there warped subtly on impact. It was faint, but he caught it. There you are. A chaotic swordgrass appeared in his hand. Cut! It flared 10 streaks of sword chi screamed forth. The chaos winds ceased instantly. The Tao was severed, and the chaos chi was ripped apart. Compared to that sword chi, the undead's attacks were insignificant. It was a strike at the strength of a small ascension chaos realm, terrifying, nearly equal to the palace master at his peak. Even if it didn't wound the target, it would flush them out. The sword tore a great rift in the void, then several tentacles fell from it, rushing blood into space. Hit! The realization had barely formed when a shriek ripped into his soul. It was like a heavy blow to the head. His mind buzzed, on the brink of blankness. Forcing his Tao heart to hold, he snapped back and saw a monstrous bird bursting from the rift. It looked like a giant eagle, but its tail was a mass of octopus-like tentacles, thousands of them. Several were severed, the ones his sword cut. Its wounds were knitting, new tentacles sprouted. It screamed again, in rage. Undead minions died en masse under its cry. Lin Moyu felt a chill. This thing might be harder to deal with than the palace master. A headache began. Then a dragon's roar split the field, and blinding gold light shattered the void as it descended. Chapter 4277. You're in trouble. Within the golden light was an utterly pure form of filth power, so pure that even a trace of it was enough to poison and kill a great Tao Lord. Yet this purity gave it a resplendent, awe-inspiring feel, rather than seeming sinister. Filth taken to the extreme becomes its own Tao. Dragons roared within the golden radiance as the candle dragon emerged from the void. He kept his eyes half closed, and Lin Moyu felt his soul tremble as the sky and earth sank into pitch darkness. The candle dragon's divine art eyes shut, world dark. Now that he had reached the chaos realm, this technique was even stronger. Lin Moyu wasn't the target, so the effect on him was fleeting, but the chaotic life form facing them was far more infected. It instantly lost all sense of direction, twisting in place, unsure where to go. The countless tentacles on its tail coiled inward, wrapping around itself. Chaos chi billowed from it, condensing into a huge sphere wreathed in chaotic energy. The candle dragon roared once more. Within the golden radiance appeared a spectral form, jaws gaping wide to bite viciously at the chaotic life form. Bang! The mighty creature was snapped apart, flesh and blood spraying. A chaotic life form couldn't be killed so easily, being Chaos Realm. Its countless scraps immediately began evolving into myriad small entities, fleeing in all directions. Lin Moyu's thoughts stirred, summoning the reverse Tao sprite, activating inverse and upright Tao energies. The scattering fragments froze where they were. The reverse Tao sprite's strength was limited. It couldn't drag them back, but halting them in place was enough. The candle dragon's voice rang out. It's not running, watch me refine it. Filthy water soul refining. In the void, countless candle dragon phantoms appeared, each vomiting torrents of filthy water, until the void became an ocean. That vile sea swallowed everything. The chaotic life form writhed and screamed within, until all went silent. An opponent harder to handle than the 5th generation Heavenly Void Palace Master had been, yet in front of the candle dragon, it had no chance. Over the years away, the candle dragon hadn't just settled into the chaos realm, he had reached minor completion. He had fully chaotified and forged both chaos battle armor and chaos battle arms. Moments later, the sea of filth vanished, leaving only the candle dragon in the void. Lin Moyu asked, "Why are you back?" The candle dragon replied, "It's been 10,000 years. I've reached minor accomplishment in the chaos realm. Got the urge to check on you, and what do you know stumbled into this big fight." "Really?" Lin Moyu's tone clearly doubted him. In this world, there were no coincidences like that. The candle dragon snorted. "Who am I that I should lie to you? Though even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. Forget that what matters is, I'm here to warn you about something." His tone turned grave. Lin Moyu asked, "What?" The candle dragon looked at the sky dome war array. "This formation, it's yours, isn't it?" Lin Moyu gave a small nod. "Yeah, what about it? You want to set up a formation, fine, but why'd you make it a giant glowing ball?" When activated, the sky dome array drew in domain force, shining brightly, turning the entire domain into a literal glowing orb. Lin Moyu knew that, but had never thought about whether it was a good idea. He asked, "What's wrong with that?" "It's a big problem," the candle dragon said. "After this, trouble's going to keep coming. Not really your fault you don't know the situation inside chaos. If you did, you'd never have done this." Lin Moyu looked at him. "Feel like you've gotten chatty since transcending. Spit it out." "Think of the chaos as an immense mist," the candle dragon said. "Within are chaotic life forms, cultivators, whole domains. Some domains have masters, most do not. And there are plenty of great completion chaos realm entities actively searching for ownerless domains." Lin Moyu well understood why. To reach full completion as a chaos realm expert, you had to have a domain of your own. Some with grand ambitions didn't settle for just that. They aimed for the title of Heaven Earth Supreme. Even if they already had a domain, they'd swallow a second or third to grow stronger for that contest. "Those domains are normally hidden in the chaos," the candle dragon continued, "walled by domain barriers and protected by soul-devouring beings. Their aura cut off hard to find. Even if found, they shift position over time, so it's not a big problem. But you, by turning yours into a light ball, you've basically announced to everyone, here's a domain." Lin Moyu understood. He had exposed his domain's location. Now, Chaos Realm experts, likely great completion ones, might come to seize it. As he stood now, he couldn't block a great completion Chaos Realm. "You said domains move from time to time," Lin Moyu asked. "How, and how long before the next shift?" The candle dragon shook his head. "Don't know. The timing's irregular. Chaos rules are far more complex than domain rules, I can't say. As for how, it's simple. It disappears from here and reappears somewhere else in the chaos. Nobody knows exactly where." Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes, studying the candle dragon, silently asking, "No one knows?" Inside, he already had an answer. Of course someone knew. If no one did, how had the green-robed elder pinned down the 5-domain world's location? The candle dragon had spent 10,000 years in the chaos, reached minor completion. How could he not know so much? It was obvious. His return now wasn't chance someone sent him, and it didn't need saying who it had to be, the green-robed elder. Lin Moyu let it pass unspoken and instead asked, "So what do you suggest I do?" "The simplest way," said the candle dragon, "is to hurry up and become domain lord, then take the domain and leave." Lin Moyu nodded along. "Makes sense. Can't you store a domain in your body like a rules world?" "No," the candle dragon replied. "A domain isn't like a rules world. It's a root in the chaos. It has to remain in that foundation to exist. When a domain lord leaves with their domain, it vanishes from sight, but it's still in the chaos. The disappearance is only temporary." The more the candle dragon said, the surer Lin Moyu was that he was the green-robed elder's messenger. The information came from that old man, passed to him to give to Lin Moyu. Domains truly differed from rules worlds. Just like the vast world seemed to be inside him, it was in fact anchored somewhere in the chaos. Even he didn't know exactly where. He'd long intended, once he reached the chaos realm, to locate the vast world's true position. Now it seemed it wasn't just the vast world. He would have to find the Lingmayao domain too, and bring the 5-domain world along. But becoming a domain lord won't be easy, Lin Moyu said. If someone comes knocking before I succeed, how do I deal with it? Chapter 40-78, The Shattered Fairy of Tribulation. Since the Candle Dragon knew so much, it was clear his return, beyond simply relaying information, meant he had already come equipped with a response. After all, he was sent by the green-robed elder. He wouldn't just deliver a message. Sure enough, the Candle Dragon answered, "What else can I do? After all, I too came from this domain. I can't just watch the domain get stolen. I intend to guard the domain from outside for a while. Meanwhile, you'd better hurry and become the domain's lord. As long as you become the domain lord, nobody'll try to take the domain anymore." Lin Moyu mostly understood the logic, but he wanted to tease the Candle Dragon a little, so he asked knowingly, "Why?" The Candle Dragon shouted, "How can you not see something so simple? Because once a domain has a lord, that person is either a native who advanced by chance while transcending, becoming the domain lord as a byproduct, or an outsider at peak chaos realm who snatched the domain to achieve full consummation. Peak chaos realm experts who have achieved perfection aren't people you want to mess with. If the lord is a native, someone of extraordinary talent who now has a domain at their back, they have a high chance of reaching consummation themselves. Unless necessary, no one wants to provoke such a person unless they're sure they can totally suppress and kill them. Otherwise, it'd just bring endless trouble down on their own head." The Candle Dragon looked at Lin Moyu. "Now do you get it?" Halfway through, he realized Lin Moyu was just messing with him. Lin Moyu surely understood already. He snorted and said impatiently, "Go back and refine the domain. I'll stay here on guard." Lin Moyu added, "Actually, there's another way. Why don't you refine this domain? You'd probably be even faster than me." The Candle Dragon snorted again. "Get lost! Don't joke with me!" It truly was a joke. The Candle Dragon wouldn't dare refine the 5-domain world unless he wanted to die. He couldn't say it directly, but everyone knew. Standing behind the 5-domain world was a heaven-earth supreme. The Candle Dragon hurried Lin Moyu away and didn't bother to explain more. With the Skydome War Array now withdrawn, the domain, even surrounded by chaos, was no longer isolated. The radiance faded and peace returned. But the light had already spread far. Who knew how far into the chaos it had reached, and how many had seen it? The previous chaotic lifeform had been drawn by precisely that light. Lin Moyu fully realized that the Candle Dragon watching the domain was the green-robed elder's arrangement, and he had surely been given specific countermeasures. But the Candle Dragon was only at minor accomplishment in the chaos realm. How long he could hold guard was unknown. And knowing the green-robed elder's quirks, there was no way he'd stay forever. Lin Moyu knew he had to hurry and break through, refining the domain himself. If the Candle Dragon left one day, that would still be normal. Returning to the domain, Lin Moyu summoned the soulless beast and asked about the internal situation. Thanks to his careful planning, though the 5th-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master had detonated all the vortices, damaging some core divine runes, the most important runes remained unharmed. The result was only limited turmoil. Some worlds fell into chaos, with minor calamities here and there. But the soulless beast governed the rules, restoring order. These worlds soon stabilized. Currently, the divine runes at the domain core were rapidly recovering and would soon be restored to their former condition. Stepping once more into the domain's core, Lin Moyu sensed an entirely new atmosphere. The vortices left by the Palace Master were gone. The ghostly duplicate had vanished, and the domain core was pure. Now Lin Moyu could set about fully refining all the divine runes in the core, and eventually the entire domain core, thus becoming its lord. Truly, becoming a domain lord was as hard or as easy as you made it. For outsiders, the domain instinctively resisted, so even a perfected Chaos Realm Master would need to fight against the domain's power to refine it. The domain's powers scattered are weak, united they are strong. Even a perfected Chaos Realm can only barely suppress them, leaving little strength for actual refining. The process could take ages, decades, or even hundreds of thousands or millions of years. For a native, the core didn't resist, making the process much easier. However, once a native left the domain and entered the chaos, even after initial chaotification, the domain would treat them as an outsider and block them. But if they didn't enter chaos, remained only at the eternal level, they couldn't even find the core, much less refine it. Lin Moyu exploited a loophole. He was a native, had become partially chaotified, and possessed ample power but hadn't yet entered chaos, so the core still regarded him as native. Moreover, he'd already refined the most vital divine runes, so finishing the rest was no great challenge, just a matter of time. He spread out his soul power, enveloping one rune after another, beginning the refining process. Given his understanding, the pace was shockingly fast. See the most exciting novels on Falu. One rune after another fell under his control. The core gradually passed into new hands. To be precise, the domain core was about to gain a new lord. Beyond the world, the candle dragon maintained the watch. Taking human form, he sat cross-legged in the void, upon a black cushion with a faint glow where its light shone. The void became a swamp, bubbles churning up, a faint stench drifting out. Eyes gleaming with fighting spirit, he growled, "Let's see who dares come cause me trouble." He glanced at the cushion and felt confident. Nonetheless, he knew that if someone did come, they wouldn't arrive immediately. The earlier beams of the Sky Dome array traveled far. It would still take time for others to spot the domain, lock onto its position, and travel there. He wasn't worried, could even take a nap. A gentle breeze stirred outside the domain, the natural wind of chaos chi drifting in from afar. He enjoyed it. After all, post-chaos realm cultivation couldn't do without chaos chi. Slowly he closed his eyes as if to doze. Carried by the wind, he drifted a long time before. Mid-doze, he bumped into something. He actually suffered a huge lump on his hard head. "What is this? So hard?" Startled awake, he looked at what had struck him. His pupils narrowed sharply. A fairy of tribulation? His first thought was of Lin Moyu, but he quickly calmed down. The fairy before him wasn't Lin Moyu's. This one had been beaten to pieces, covered in holes. A fairy of tribulation broken? That was something he'd never imagined. "No, I've got to tell him." Suddenly, the battered fairy simply vanished without a trace. The candle dragon was shocked, even a little creeped out. With his vision, he couldn't tell at all how the fairy had disappeared. Reflecting carefully, at the instant it vanished, there had seemed to be a ripple of space-time. Chapter 4279, Domain Lord. Within the core of the virtual domain, Lin Moyu continuously refined divine runes. Now that he'd refined over half of them, it seemed certain he was about to become the Lord of the 5-domain world. Only Lin Moyu understood the significance of the 5 in 5-domain world. This domain was extremely special. By mastering it, he could potentially seize control of 5 related domains, those of the 1st to 4th generations, as well as the shifting domain of transformation and illusion. Of course, it wouldn't be that simple. Just within the Heavenly Void domain alone, the Heavenly Void Sun would never allow it. The Heavenly Void Sun was definitely a perfected Chaos Realm powerhouse, perhaps even stronger than most peers. If anyone else tried to take the 5-domain world, they'd likely be killed by him. If he failed, even the green-robed elder might intervene. The plans laid by Heavenly Void Sun and the green-robed group had been crafted over endless years. Nobody would allow them to be easily spoiled. The green-robed elder rarely intervened, simply because he feared attracting the attention of the Tao. That's why Lin Moyu had to act as quickly as possible. After several centuries, Lin Moyu had refined over 70% of the runes in the domain core. At this rate, in another 2,000 years, he would finish refining them all. Suddenly, the domain core trembled. The domain was under attack. Lin Moyu sent a thought activating the Skydome War Array. He didn't engage its full strength, just the defensive function, and by leaving his consciousness within the array, he witnessed what was going on outside the domain. The Candle Dragon was in pitched combat. A few chaotic life forms had come, but none were cultivators. The Candle Dragon fought with ease. These barely minor completion Chaos Realm creatures were outclassed and swiftly defeated. Nearby floated the corpses of other chaotic life forms, not even at Chaos Realm, but still daring to approach and covet the domain. Effortlessly slain by the Candle Dragon. Lin Moyu understood. The previous gleam of the Sky Dome array had shot out across the void, and now all those who'd glimpsed it had begun arriving. The timeline was drawn out. Centuries had passed before any arrived, showing just how vast chaos was and how difficult it was to travel through. These creatures didn't care to become domain lords. To them, domains were simply a delicious meal. With the Sky Dome Array's shield, the Candle Dragon sensed Lin Moyu's presence and sent a message. "Stop slacking, hurry it up." "Got it," answered Lin Moyu, returning his focus to refining runes. Over the next millennia, battles flared sporadically outside the domain. Every now and then, Lin Moyu would observe, most incursions were chaotic life forms until 1,000 years after he slew the 5th-generation Heavenly Void Palace Master, when the first real cultivator arrived. This being appeared human, though his true race was unclear. According to the Candle Dragon, most chaos cultivators preferred human form, calling it the Tao body. This first arrival was a major completion chaos realm expert and an opponent the Candle Dragon clearly couldn't beat, pressed the moment battle began. But soon the Candle Dragon unleashed his trump card, a mat radiating black light. The mat transformed the void into a swamp, steeped in terrifying power. The Chaos Realm powerhouse, gripped by fear, was forced to flee. Watching through the array, Lin Moyu couldn't fully comprehend the horror inside that swamp. But if it could repel such a foe, it was obviously extraordinary. Most importantly, the black mat was identical to his own ice jade mat clearly obtained from the green-robed elder. This confirmed Lin Moyu's earlier suspicion. The Candle Dragon was indeed allied with the green-robed elder. Over time, more Chaos Realm heavyweights came and were rebuffed by the Candle Dragon. Yet Lin Moyu noticed the black mat seemed weaker with every use. Is this supposed to be a message for me? Using this method to prod me how crafty? Lin Moyu sensed the intent of the green-robed elder behind the scenes, pushing him not to slack off and hurry up to become Domain Lord, which was his own goal anyway. Devoting himself to rune work, Lin Moyu felt his bond with the domain growing tighter as he surpassed 90% mastery. He now felt as though he could start influencing the domain's laws. Experimenting, he found he truly did have some ability to adjust the domain's rules. His vision could now overlook much of the domain. The world missed a thing of the past, each world laid bare. He could even observe individual cultivators within any world. If he wished, he could even review the entire history of a world in a single thought. This scope of mastery surprised him not at all. He'd had the same experience in the vast world, able to see all in a thought and sweep through past and present. Now both the 5-domain world and the vast world were under his gaze. Thus he continued refining runes as the Candle Dragon kept guard, seeing off challenger after challenger. Over the next millennium, a dozen or so major completion Chaos Realm cultivators came, one every 100 years or so. There were only 9 Heaven-Earth Supremes in the Chaos, but no lack of powerful Chaos cultivators. At last, in the 2600th year of the Candle Dragon's vigil, Lin Moyu refined the final divine rune within the core. In that instant, the entire domain, convulsed immense power, roared through the void, surging back and forth. Domain force reached the chaos, and Lin Moyu glimpsed the Soul Eater spirits. Over the years, many Soul Eater spirits had perished. Every outsider had to deal with their defense first. 2 were left from 3 original Soul Eater spirit emperors clearly. 1 had been killed. They weren't truly immortal. It all depended on the enemy. With a thought, Lin Moyu swept domain power through the chaos, then drew it back as powder to form new domain barriers. Now that the domain had a lord, Soul Eater spirits were no longer needed. Henceforward, guarding the domain would be the Domain Lord's task. Their mission was over. As Lin Moyu became Domain Lord, a peak chaos cultivator was dueling the Candle Dragon outside. Suddenly the cultivator paused, looked to the domain, and called, "Ah, the domain has a lord! Congratulations, my friend. Please forgive any past offense. If ever you are at leisure, visit East Mountain in the Eastern Domain, and you will be received with full honor." With that, he turned and left without hesitation. Just as the Candle Dragon had predicted, none wanted to antagonize a native genius who became Domain Lord at the moment of transcendence. Such a one was nearly fated to achieve perfection. No one wanted to make a future enemy of Lin Moyu, so the best course was withdrawal. The Candle Dragon breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, it's over. With Lin Moyu crowned Domain Lord, the mission was complete. Domain power still surged, and Lin Moyu took his seat at the core, the entire world under his dominion. Across the domain, the Eternals all sensed the change they knew. From now on, the domain had a true master. They couldn't help but rejoice. For them, having a domain lord was a cause for celebration. Chapter 4280. Chaos is poisonous. Once a domain has a lord, many previous loopholes are mended, making it much easier for cultivators within to achieve the Tao. So having a domain lord is a good thing so long as that lord isn't a madman. The power of the domain still surged as the Sky Dome War Array, following Lin Moyu's will, rapidly sank its 10 layers, merging into the domain barrier itself, making it even more formidable. Lin Moyu's voice echoed throughout the domain. The domain has a lord. The Soul Eater spirits have dispersed. There is space in the Origin Return Land. May you all achieve the Tao soon. Although his voice resonated through the domain, only Tao Lords and Eternals could hear it. Not just anyone could listen to the Domain Lord's words. Now as Domain Lord, Lin Moyu was fully aware of everything in the domain. The Origin Return Land could hold 30 Taos, and there were still vacancies. The Gate of Eternity had been a rules loophole which he now patched. If you have the strength and gain heaven and earth's recognition, you can bind your Tao to the Origin Return Land. It's still difficult, but far easier than before. Failure won't necessarily mean death or Tao erasure. As Lord, Lin Moyu wouldn't make things harder for cultivators. He simply hoped more in the domain would grow stronger. The more who reached the Chaos realm, the better, since those of chaos from his domain would always be tied to it by cause and effect. The more Chaos realm beings born from a domain, the stronger the domain itself. When threatened, those Chaos experts would be led by fate to protect it. Lin Moyu understood cause and effect, so he wouldn't suppress others. Now that the domain is mine, it's time to advance to Chaos myself. The half-step Chaos level was never a proper realm. It was only a makeshift stage where he'd chosen to linger. Long ago, Emperor Kunluna was stuck there for special reasons and could never break through. But Lin Moyu had accomplished his plans, and now it was time to move forward, stepping properly into Chaos. With a single thought, the Origin Return Land shook as the immortality, Great Tao, abruptly vanished. In the next moment, it appeared before Lin Moyu. Tao fusion merged into Chaos. The immortality Tao turned into myriad points of starlight, all falling into Lin Moyu's body. In his soul world, the Great Tao manifested, its gray-white brilliance mingling with his soul. Tao power also flooded his flesh, life and death mingling and alternating, his strength soaring rapidly. His soul and body both strengthened quickly. Though much of his power remained sealed, he still held strength surpassing the 6-fold sublimated level. Once he entered the Chaos realm, he'd be far stronger than his peers. Transcending boundaries would be no problem. As Lin Moyu felt himself grow stronger, so did the world tree. It grew explosively, branches stretching out without limit, enveloping the vast world and now spreading into other domains. In the 5-domain world, the Science Tao world, and the Ling Miao domain, world tree avatars appeared, scattering seeds everywhere. These seeds quickly grew into yet more avatar trees. Lin Moyu watched the avatars absorbing the power of various worlds and even beginning to evolve new races. The world tree had changed, utterly unlike before. No matter how many avatars, its core body stayed put. Little Tree sat by the roots, eyes closed, reaching out to summon the Shenzhou cauldron, which poured golden light upon him, cloaking him in a brilliant aura. The gold light spread from the world tree to every avatar, hastening their growth and transformation. The Shenzhou cauldron now seemed fully awakened, exuding unparalleled purity and power. As expected, the Shenzhou cauldron isn't something simple. Long ago, the cauldron anchored the primordial veins in the Origin continent. It had existed before the continent was born, more ancient than the land itself. Its origins were deeply mysterious, even now. Lin Moyu didn't know its source, though he faintly sensed connections to the Catastrophic Supreme or the Green-Robed Elder. The cauldron's golden radiance was now the best nourishment for Little Tree, who would soon complete his metamorphosis. Suddenly the void tore as the Chaos Pearl flew back. Chaos Seed shouted, "Master, you're finally stepping into chaos." Lin Moyu asked, "And then?" Chaos Seed replied, I'll help Master complete chaotification. Lin Moyu understood, with Chaos Seed's aid, his time to being fully chaotified would be drastically reduced. What took others thousands or tens of thousands of years, he could achieve in just a few. He asked, and what else? Chaos Seed added, I'll also help Master fuse his arts, and Master must not forge Chaos battle armor or weapons. Lin Moyu frowned. Why not? Those were marks of minor achievement in Chaos Realm, potent tools in combat. Why should he avoid them? Chaos Seed hesitated, then said, I don't know exactly, but my memory warns me. Never forge Chaos armor or arms. Supposedly, Chaos is poisonous. That statement startled Lin Moyu. He instinctively thought of Tao. This was the ultimate enemy Catastrophic Supreme had faced. He had seen the Supreme, clad in Chaos armor and wielding the Catastrophic Scepter, crushed instantly by the Tao without resistance. That image replayed in Lin Moyu's mind thousands of times, and only now did he notice. There had been something wrong with that Chaos armor. With Chaos Seed's warning Chaos is poisonous, he saw a clue he'd always missed. He asked, what about chaotification itself? Chaos Seed replied, my Chaos world can help Master chaotify without relying on the outside chaos. The Chaos Pearl's inner world, refined by Chaos Seed, contained purified Chaos Chi, already distinct from the chaos outside. If chaos is toxic, then Chaos Seed's internal chaos had already been detoxified. Lin Moyu asked, is there any risk? Chaos Seed thought for a moment, spinning rapidly as if searching his memory. After a while, he answered, got it. Master, you need to first step into the Chaos realm, be observed, and only then complete full chaotification. And even after that, once you truly enter chaos, you must do something else for safety. Be observed. Who could observe him except for the Tao? Indeed, this was a vast cosmic scheme, with Chaos Seed another piece on the board, and now it seemed even the World Tree was part of this. Suddenly, a voice sounded by his ear. Domain Lord, I have a favor to ask. Chapter 4280. Chaos is poisonous. Once a domain has a lord, many previous loopholes are mended, making it much easier for cultivators within to achieve the Tao. So having a domain lord is a good thing, so long as that lord isn't a madman. The power of the domain still surged as the Sky Dome War Array, following Lin Moyu's will, rapidly sank its 10 layers, merging into the domain barrier itself, making it even more formidable. Lin Moyu's voice echoed throughout the domain. The domain has a lord. The Soul Eater spirits have dispersed. There is space in the Origin Return land. May you all achieve the Tao soon. Although his voice resonated through the domain, only Tao Lords and Eternals could hear it. Not just anyone could listen to the Domain Lord's words. Now as Domain Lord, Lin Moyu was fully aware of everything in the domain. The Origin Return land could hold 30 Taos, and there were still vacancies. The Gate of Eternity had been a rules loophole which he now patched. If you have the strength and gain heaven and earth's recognition, you can bind your Tao to the Origin Return land. It's still difficult, but far easier than before. Failure won't necessarily mean death or Tao erasure. As Lord, Lin Moyu wouldn't make things harder for cultivators. He simply hoped more in the domain would grow stronger. The more who reached the Chaos realm, the better, since those of chaos from his domain would always be tied to it by cause and effect. The more Chaos realm beings born from a domain, the stronger the domain itself. When threatened, those chaos experts would be led by fate to protect it. Lin Moyu understood cause and effect, so he wouldn't suppress others. Now that the domain is mine, it's time to advance to chaos myself. The half-step chaos level was never a proper realm. It was only a makeshift stage where he'd chosen to linger. Long ago, Emperor Kunlun was stuck there for special reasons and could never break through. But Lin Moyu had accomplished his plans, and now it was time to move forward, stepping properly into chaos. With a single thought, the Origin Return land shook as the Immortality Great Tao abruptly vanished. In the next moment, it appeared before Lin Moyu. Tao fusion merged into chaos. The Immortality, Tao turned into myriad points of starlight, all falling into Lin Moyu's body. In his soul world, the great Tao manifested, its gray-white brilliance mingling with his soul. Tao power also flooded his flesh, life and death mingling and alternating, his strength soaring rapidly. His soul and body both strengthened quickly, though much of his power remained sealed. He still held strength surpassing the six-fold sublimated level. Once he entered the Chaos realm, he'd be far stronger than his peers. Transcending boundaries would be no problem. As Lin Moyu felt himself grow stronger, so did the world tree. It grew explosively, branches stretching out without limit, enveloping the vast world, and now spreading into other domains. In the five-domain world, the Science Dao world, and the Ling Miao domain, world tree avatars appeared, scattering seeds everywhere. These seeds quickly grew into yet more avatar trees. Lin Moyu watched the avatars absorbing the power of various worlds and even beginning to evolve new races. The world tree had changed, utterly unlike before. No matter how many avatars, its core body stayed put. Little Tree sat by the roots, eyes closed, reaching out to summon the Shenzhou cauldron, which poured golden light upon him, cloaking him in a brilliant aura. The gold light spread from the world tree to every avatar, hastening their growth and transformation. The Shenzhou cauldron now seemed fully awakened, exuding unparalleled purity and power. As expected, the Shenzhou cauldron isn't something simple. Long ago, the cauldron anchored the primordial veins in the origin continent. It had existed before the continent was born, more ancient than the land itself. Its origins were deeply mysterious even now. Lin Moyu didn't know its source, though he faintly sensed connections to the Catastrophic Supreme or the green-robed Elder. The cauldron's golden radiance was now the best nourishment for Little Tree, who would soon complete his metamorphosis. Suddenly the void tore as the Chaos Pearl flew back. Chaos Seed shouted, "Master, you're finally stepping into chaos." Lin Moyu asked, "And then?" Chaos Seed replied, "I'll help Master complete chaotification." Lin Moyu understood, with Chaos Seed's aid, his time to being fully chaotified would be drastically reduced. What took others thousands or tens of thousands of years, he could achieve in just a few. He asked, "And what else?" Chaos Seed added, "I'll also help Master fuse his arts, and Master must not forge chaos battle armor or weapons." Lin Moyu frowned. Why not? Those were marks of minor achievement in Chaos Realm. Potent tools in combat, why should he avoid them? Chaos Seed hesitated, then said, "I don't know exactly, but my memory warns me. Never forge chaos armor or arms. Supposedly, chaos is poisonous." That statement startled Lin Moyu. He instinctively thought of Dao. This was the ultimate enemy Catastrophic Supreme had faced. He had seen the Supreme, clad in chaos armor and wielding the catastrophic scepter, crushed instantly by the Dao without resistance. That image replayed in Lin Moyu's mind thousands of times, and only now did he notice. There had been something wrong with that chaos armor. With Chaos Seed's warning, chaos is poisonous, he saw a clue he'd always missed. He asked, "What about chaotification itself?" Chaos Seed replied, "My chaos world can help Master chaotify without relying on the outside chaos. The Chaos Pearl's inner world, refined by Chaos Seed, contained purified chaos ki, already distinct from the chaos outside. If chaos is toxic, then Chaos Seed's internal chaos had already been detoxified." Lin Moyu asked, "Is there any risk?" Chaos Seed thought for a moment, spinning rapidly as if searching his memory. After a while, he answered, "Got it. Master, you need to first step into the Chaos Realm, be observed, and only then complete full chaotification. And even after that, once you truly enter chaos, you must do something else for safety. Be observed. Who could observe him except for the Tao?" Indeed, this was a vast cosmic scheme, with Chaos Seed another piece on the board, and now it seemed even the World Tree was part of this. Suddenly, a voice sounded by his ear. "Domain Lord, I have a favor to ask."